Hello, Chatawainos. Hello. What happened to the chat box? Why did it break? I changed it to a different thing and it seems to have broken. Can people chat, please, so I can see what the fuck is happening? Display message animations. Is that what I need to do? Is that the one? There we go.
Stop it. Get some help.
There you go. See? Working. Fuck yes. Anyway, so yes, hello everyone. It's a thing. Look, you pressed. I made it do a thing. God, I'm so good at this. I'm like the best. I'm like literally the best technological wizard ever. I mean, the fact that I literally had to, Helena should have FNM later. The fuck is FNM? I don't know what that means, but thank you, King. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't on yesterday because of the thing. Because I did, my fucking computer broke. So the show that we were supposed to do yesterday, we're doing now. And I think it's just going to lead into the happy hour later. I think is what we're going to do, hopefully. Was it the dust? No, it wasn't dust this time. I did drag my younger brother away from his two adorable young children, and indeed his loving wife, to poke around my computer for an hour or two this afternoon. And he seems to have fixed it, whatever the fuck he did. It was probably very simple, but he made it sound phenomenally complicated, because he knows I won't understand. But that's okay, because he's a stupid breeder. 24-hour Kevin Logan stream tiredness won't be an issue. It definitely will be an issue, yeah. Hey, see, and I got that working as well, look! Do the emotes! Do the emotes, they works now, I think, or something, I don't know. Yay, emotes work! Yeah! It's alive! It's alive! Oh, fuck yes. Let's go. Oh, Spice World. Okay, we're on with No Justice MTG to watch Question Time. And then happy hour later. Although, I'll be entirely honest, I have nothing planned for happy hour. So if people want to send stuff that we can look at, honestly, I'm flying by the seat of my cock right now, so I have no idea what the fuck is happening. Where is the thing? God damn it, I am bad at this. No, I want to invite people, so where's the fucking... There it is, join copying info, suck my fucking penis. Right. Can you believe people give me money to do this? Can you actually fucking believe that shit? Anyway, you can be one of those people that I am disbelieving that you give me money, if you wanted to, and you can do so in the form of bits and subs on Twitch, sorry, and you can give subs to the community. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. If you're on YouTube, hello YouTube, you can do. That's taking up quite a lot of the screen actually. So what I'm going to do with the emote wall, I'm tempting fate here, but I'm going to make the emote scale slightly smaller. Just so they don't take up all of the fucking space. Because for a start off, there's probably going to be some talk about like genocide and stuff. So it's probably best not to have just a wall of like frogs in front of people talking about genocide tonight. You know, probably best for it. Anyway, if you're on YouTube, hello YouTube. You can hit the like button, the little thumbs up. You can subscribe for free. You can become what else can you become? A member for as little as 99 pence. You can give memberships to the community, and you can do super chats. I will take your shekel, Satnav. Absolutely, any denomination's welcome, friend. Why do people give you money? I don't honestly know. I'm not certain as to why that is a thing, but it does happen. There's just a wall of James Wanker emotes. Absolutely lovely work. This is fun already. I'm enjoying this. Hello,
ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Victory is ours.
Hello, long live Kane. Now, is that Kane as in Harry Kane, or Kane as in the wrestler Kane, or is it maybe Michael Kane? Because if so, you've spelt that wrong. That's a different spelling of Kane, if that's the case. But you know, I'm just saying. I'm wondering. Wondering aloud, friend. What am I doing? Yeah. So we've got that lined up. Also, it's the 88th, ironic I suppose, anniversary of Cable Street today, which is fucking dope. For those who don't know, Cable Street, amazing. An amazing thing. Britain basically at its fucking best. Leftoids, based-ass leftoids. And indeed, to be fair, some liberals and all of those things thrown into the mix. Defended the Jewish and Irish populations of London against the fascist filth of Oswald Mosley, the aforementioned fascist slag. What a melt. Etc. Yeah. So fucking big up that shit. My family was there. Well, see, Mr. Satnav, I appreciate you doing that, right? I appreciate you saying that, but you do have to say on which side, because depending on which side you were on, really does depend how I'm going to react to that piece of information. Like, it's either based as fuck or like you've got some serious shit in your past. Just saying. Like, for reals is. Kane as in Big Daddy Kane. Oh, okay. So none of the Kanes I mentioned, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you view that. Did you know that wrestler Kane is a massive Ayn Rand supporter and banned masks during a pandemic? Hang on. Kane the wrestler, famous for wearing a mask, banned people from wearing masks? What the fuck did... What? I mean, he's a libertarian. Of course he fucking knows. Of course. Kane is a GOP mayor of where? That's... wow. I mean, I could just look this up. Rather than asking you the question, I could just look it up. I have purposely not done so. Where the fuck is Nudge? I don't know why I'm referring to her in that way. That is totally not what she ever calls herself, but... Is she around? She definitely said 3 o'clock. And yet I cannot see her... I can't see her going. So have I been debated into this? I am staying in the call for now. And no more than now. I may have been debated. I demand a mask match where you demask Kane as a fuck you. To be fair, even though like he's probably old as shit, he'd probably still beat the shit out of me because he's like 7 feet tall and massive. So. Like, I don't need that. I don't need to be beaten up by a fat old man. I am a fat old man. Uno memento. I just did a little fart. I don't know if it picked up on the microphone, but I wanted you to know either way. I'll get her, hold on. Non-binary, do you have like a direct line to her then? Is it like the Pope with God or something? Is that how that works? I sort of hope not, but... Yeah. I mean, look, if for whatever reason she's not available, we'll just watch it together on my own, if that makes sense. Me and you, chat, will watch it on our own. I meant with actual wrestlers, not UKIP. Well, you said where you unmask them. So I that's you as in me. You're only talking to me. You're not talking to wrestlers, are you? Don't try and pull that shit. I know how fucking language works. It's one of the few things I understand in this world. Which is why I'm so disgusted and aroused by the Dutch. Yeah, I hope I'll try that again. I hope she's available as well. I mean, she's the one that suggested this stream today now, so I don't... I think she could just be busy and or an emergency may have occurred and or abducted by aliens. That's always possible. Let me see. I've got anything in the bookmarks for you. Anything interesting in the bookmark? This one, okay. Not a story that I thought I'd bring to you today, but a couple of animal-related stories, okay? A couple of animal-related bits of nonsense. As we await. Okay. So this happened, right? The horse that led the Queen's coffin procession 2 fucking years ago, given the animal's OBE. That's a fancy title, or a fancy trinket. It's an award you get, right? And is that the one where they get to call you sir or something? Because there's no fucking way on this earth I'm calling a horse sir. It's not happening. Also, like, don't get me wrong. It's more worthy than human recipients of the award. So, like, I get that, right? I understand that the animal people in the audience would be like, oh, that's cool, a horse got it. But, like, the horse doesn't understand the concept of such awards. So why the long face? Badumts. Yeah, what, like, it doesn't understand it didn't even know what it was doing. It didn't know the significance of the thing it was fucking pulling along. So why are you giving it an award? It was basically doing it so that you would get carrots. Or whatever. Or, like, the owner wouldn't fucking beat it for not doing what it was told. Like, I don't know. Also, how do we know that it's a loyal subject of His Royal Britannic Majesty? It can't fucking speak. Is it one of those, like, one hoof for loyal, 2 hoofs for disloyal? Like, do you support the IRA? 1 hoof for yes, 2 hoofs for no. Like, how do we know? I'm just saying we need extreme betting on these fucking horses. Fact. Very serious country. Very, very serious country. You know who's not serious? Americans. They had... in the US, they've got a thing called Fat Bear Week. Because even their wildlife has an obesity problem. Right. It's already good. Just the fact that they have a Fat Bear Week is a thing. Right. And then, not only do the animals mimic the humans in America by being fat, they also do it by being bad sportsmen as well. Because
Stop it.
Well, maybe I should, Vogel. Maybe I should. Because they've had to delay the start of Fat Bear Week by after one of the contestants killed a rival. Like, what kind of competitor are you that you have to murder someone because they might beat you in a fat bear contest? God damn it. It's honestly, where's the sportsmanship? Is that a pic of Kev on a full moon? No, that's me if I don't shave. This is just Kev if I never shave. That's what I look like. That's me in my full glory. Hello, Ripshaft. Yeah, I'm on early. But I don't know if No Justice is around. So I don't know. Is a horse OBE an officer of the Bridelish Empire? That doesn't really work, non-binary. I appreciate the effort. But no. No. If Birmingham City were playing, but you wouldn't murder anyone, right? If Birmingham City ever make it to the Champions League, I might have to murder everyone on Earth because it's a clear sign that something's gone drastically awry with normality, and that the simulation needs to stop. It's broken. It would be so fucking weird. It would tear a hole in the space-time continuum if we ever had anything like that level of success. I don't know that I could handle it. I think my fucking head would explode. And I would rip my cock off before we even got to that stage. So, like... Just saying. Oh, hello, Vogel. The Dutch bit on Wednesday is gobbledygook, like that no fat German kid don't go into the weed cave meme. Don't know what the fuck that means. I get that what it's a reference to from the show, but I don't know, like, what's going on there. Shall I give her a ring? I'm gonna try one thing on the Discord. I'm gonna leave the fat bear there. I'm gonna leave the fat bear there to fucking chill. I'm gonna jump into the Discord, give her a bell, and then see what's perhaps. What's going on here? Ding ding. Tanky Tuesday on Friday. Is there any tanky type stuff? I don't know. If there's tanky related stuff, we can do it if you want. No, hang on, that's not. No, hang on. Why am I calling Christy? I didn't mean to call Christy. I apologise. God damn it. She's going to call back now. And she's going to be live on air. I'll get her to say something very racist. That doesn't take a lot of effort. Hey! Who is this person? Oh, that's not the person I'm after, is it? Where the fuck? There we go. Right. Let's give her a bell. Probably shouldn't do this on air, really, but I will tell her if she answers, so it won't be like a shock or anything. If a horse was knighted, can they now ride humans? Yeah, I think so. I have no idea. I'm talking shite, but you know. Nah, she's not around. Okay, well, that's. I hope she's okay. I hope nothing, you know, has happened. Anywho. What's this? Oop.
One for the diary, said Koonsberg, promoting her interview with Boris Johnson. Of course, it was called out as a shameless attempt by Johnson to promote his book, Unleashed, and the BBC was going to facilitate him by putting the interview on at prime time on BBC One. But then we got this tweet from Koonsberg.
While preparing to interview Boris Johnson tomorrow, by mistake I sent our briefing notes to him in a message meant for my team. That obviously means it's not right for the interview to go ahead.
This, by the way, this story is funny. For a couple of reasons. But especially because she obviously sent this to him purposefully and has been caught and is getting ahead of the story. She knew that someone had found out that she'd sent this to him, which, by the way, is obviously ridiculously unethical. You shouldn't allow people to prep ahead of time. Like, it's obviously unethical, and the journalistic malpractice is enormous. But she does this with all of her fucking Tories, especially the ones that she really likes, like Boris Johnson, right? How do you accidentally send what was intended for a large group of people you work with to somebody you have absolutely no official connection with? How do you accidentally do that? I don't quite know. In fact, I know damn well that she did this on purpose. What do you mean? Title? Oh, the title. Well, we were supposed to be watching Question Time, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so she, someone clearly found out that she'd been doing this and that she'd sent the questions to him ahead of time. And to get ahead of the story, she's come out and said, "Oh, I did it by accident, honest. And I only did it this one time, and it was a total accident, honest. I swear to God," to get out ahead of the story. And so then now that interview won't be happening, which is good because it was obviously like a craven attempt to get free advertising at prime time on the BBC. It's ridiculous. Oh, hello. Yellow.
Hi there. Sorry, I've only just woken up. I slept far longer than I expected. I haven't got anybody on my phone is. I'm just going to jump in and say and watch Question Time anyway because I like Question Time.
Oh, are you not streaming then?
I'm not streaming on my end, but I'm happy to come in and watch Question Time with you.
Okay, are you okay? Because you don't you sound tired as fuck. So like,
I mean, this was probably the normal time I would wake up anyway. So that's compared to when I actually went to sleep.
oh,
So
okay.
I'm now awake, so yeah, happy to go and watch it.
Okay. Well, we were just talking about the Koonsberg totally accidentally sending the thing to Boris Johnson story, which was
Yes.
yeah, a total accident.
funny.
Honest.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. No, I definitely believe her, 100%. She's a fine journalist. Why would she lie? Anyway.
I know, right? Innocent mistake.
True. Okie doke. Let's have a listen then.
A gale-force wind of political change stormed through Scotland this summer, with the SNP's dominance at Westminster upturned by Labour. The SNP, though, is still the party of devolved government, and support for independence remains largely unchanged. So, welcome to Dundee, once dubbed the Yes City for its overwhelming backing of independence. But Labour won all but one of the 9 Westminster seats around here in July. Tonight's audience reflects...
Honestly, it's so annoying that Labour still has that sort of stranglehold on centre-leftist thought because the Tories are so despised. Because they keep mopping up seats in places like Dundee and Manchester and Liverpool when they totally don't deserve it.
Victory is ours!
I know, yeah, it's miserable, isn't it?
It's pathetic.
Also, this panel is in pro-independence Dundee, and they've got one pro-independence candidate.
Good old BBC balance. Love it. That's the point, right? And I've made the point before about how they partition the audience based on political, voting across the country. That doesn't make sense. What's the point of going to Dundee and giving us one candidate or one speaker who is pro-independence and like 30% Tories, when that would account for every Tory in the area? Because there are none. They don't fucking exist there. You're not getting a proper indication of the kind of place it is. So why bother? Stay in London and save the fucking licence fee payer money.
Yeah, like this whole thing is like incredibly skewed,
Yeah.
both the panel and the audience.
It's so silly.
reflects a general electoral picture across Scotland. Welcome to Question Time.
Across Scotland. That's better, I suppose. But...
From the Scottish Government is Jenny Gilruth. She's been Education Secretary since March last year and MSP for Mid, Fife and Glenrothes since 2016. Having been Labour's only Scottish MP for a long time, Ian Murray now has lots of friends on the Westminster benches, with the party winning 37 seats here in July. And he now sits in the UK Cabinet as the Secretary of State for...
You going to mention how many they'd win if it was run again today? Because I think they'd be down to about 11. Yeah. It's taken them 3 months to fucking destroy any goodwill from the Scottish people. Now, to be fair, that's replicated across the country. Scotland is not alone in that. Literally, fucking Keir Starmer is now viewed more negatively than Rishi Sunak. And again,
it's going well, isn't it?
this is his honeymoon. This is the good bit.
Was there ever a honeymoon?
Not really, and I didn't expect there to be because no one likes him. But you expected him to have a bit of breathing space. And instead he went, should we freeze some grandmas? People like that, don't they? Brilliant.
Scotland. The Conservatives' Andrew Bowie is Shadow UK Minister for Veteran Affairs.
He looks a Tory cunt. He really does. Look, if I saw
He's the
him, I
guy-
just think, yeah, it's all right. Of course he is.
He's the guy who posted the picture of his fish and chips on Twitter and got abusive messages that he posted on Twitter as well.
Yeah, was it 8-chip
Is it-
cunt or something?
Yes, it's Scottish Tory 6-chip twat.
6-chip twat. Honestly, British insults are so creative and stupid. They're brilliant. You can just put the word proper or total in front of any word and it becomes an insult. You absolute penguin. What the fuck does that mean?
Honestly,
And yet you know what I mean.
It's true. You know exactly what somebody's trying to say.
You complete spoon. Works. It works.
And energy. He's one of only 5 Tory MPs in Scotland, but his party is still the second largest in the Scottish Parliament. Wendy Chamberlain is deputy leader of the Scottish Liberal Democrats and chief whip to their 72 MPs. She's been the MP
And her haircut is here from 1982.
for North East 5 since 2019. And Ian McWhirter is a veteran observer of politics. He writes for The Times and Spectator.
He seems like an okay-ish guy, albeit still a bit of a twat. But even for like the bit of rough, they've got, and he's like was vaguely sort of independent a bit. But even
If
he's
we're
like
using
privately
the Helen
educated
analogy,
and
they've
went to
fucked us
Edinburgh
now, they've
University.
dumped us. Also, Scottish people have the best insults as Scottish
They're all-
cosplayers confirmed.
They're
I've watched
all.
the Spectator
It's
as
always
well.
just posh people. Every one of them. Fucking mad.
You
Thank-
expected any one of the journalists from the UK to know anyone who wasn't posh?
Yeah, fair enough, I suppose. But you know, just it's quite galling because Dundee's about as rough as it gets. Don't get me wrong, Dundee, love you to bits, but like, it is not the most salubrious part of the nation. I imagine its privately educated school population is not booming, and yet virtually
sure.
every single privately educated person in that city tonight was on this panel, probably, and they were only there for the night, you know.
and is a former rector of Edinburgh University. His book, Disunited Kingdom, examines Scotland and the UK after the independence vote 10 years ago. Good evening. Welcome to our panellists. Welcome to our audience here in Dundee. Great to see you, and welcome to you at home. Remember, you can join in the programme on social media, and you can watch the programme at 8 o'clock live on iPlayer if after the 10 o'clock news is a bit late. 8 o'clock.
Or you can watch it over a bowl of cornflakes at 3 in the afternoon. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine.
on iPlayer. Right, let's take our first question, which is from David Patterson.
Good evening, panel. Does handing back £6,000 get Sir Keir Starmer off the hook?
So, this is
I see. Now, for a second, because I've seen virtually no clips of this, right? Because I was feeling sorry for myself, so when I got very drunk last night. Anyway, so I don't really know what they talked about, really. I know when he said hand back, I thought if he says fucking Chagos Islands, I'm going to scream. I swear to God. A group of islands no fucker had ever heard of, and all of a sudden Conservatives are up in arms because we're going to give it back to people who vaguely come from that place. Vaguely.
Based upon an ICJ ruling as well.
Yeah. And not just that, but I saw, did you see fucking Cleverly, the daft bastard? James Cleverly,
Yeah.
former Foreign Secretary, right? Absolutely outraged. By the way, I should explain for Americans. The Chagos Islands, they're in the Indian Ocean. We've got there's a US military, US and UK joint military base there, which will be unaffected by this change. That's the only reason America have allowed it, frankly. And we're going to give the islands to Mauritius, who basically are the sort of the closest country it could join, pretty much. In an anti-colonialist endeavour, one of the few occasions we've given land back to people, basically. And so the Conservatives are naturally trying to play havoc with this and say how terrible it is. And yet James Cleverly, when he was Foreign Secretary a few months ago, was the person who initiated this negotiation.
Such a bad end.
He literally started it. And now he's like, this is an outrage, you're giving away land! Land that no one knew we had. Literally,
Exactly.
if it hadn't been announced, how would anyone have noticed any difference?
You know, like the fact that we acquired it because we were given it to us by France, who also stole it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's not how that works, right?
Yeah. You don't get to write your own deeds and then pass that deed to a second person and be like, see, I've got the deeds. No, you wrote that yourself. What? That's not how it works.
You can, but only if you're Israeli.
True. Or European 200 years ago. That was fine. That was fine. Anyway, so yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, exactly. Think Cuba and Guantanamo Bay, that sort of deal with the air base. So like when they're saying like, oh, they're capitulating to China. No, we're not. We've still got the air base. I mean, we should stop having the air base, but that's not the point. If you want to be a war hawk fucking dick rider for the industrial war machine, that's still going to happen. It's fine.
Yeah, and even then, like the idea that Mauritius is some kind of Belt and Road puppet state for the Chinese government is nonsense. It's like the most highly democratically developed country in the entirety of Africa. They made a choice to make an economic relationship with China because they offered them shit that we weren't offering them.
Exactly, yeah. What a surprise. If you choose to treat people reasonably well and build up their infrastructure, they warm to you. If you do nothing but rape and pillage them for centuries and then begrudgingly give bits of it away, maybe they're not so fucking happy about the situation.
Yeah, and what a surprise.
True. Thank you for the bits, Elliot Woman. Much love to you. Don't forget you can give me bits and subs. You can't give bits... Actually, no, can you give bits and subs offline? I suppose you can. Yeah, go and give bits and subs to Helena for waking up. Which is an important part of the streaming process.
True, it is. You can't stream when you're asleep.
Actually, that's not true. Have you seen the sleeping people?
There are sleeping people?
Yeah, this is called I'm Only Sleeping. I presume they start the stream whilst they're awake and then go to sleep.
That's fair. That's
right.
Yeah, I can't start my stream whilst I'm asleep.
Yeah. But yeah, and then they just sleep and people watch. I don't know what they get out of that experience, to be honest. Frankly, it's a little bit fucking creepy. I don't think I could sleep in that situation. It would be weird because I know people are watching. Even though they're 1,000 miles away, it's still like... No, it'd be fucking weird. I couldn't do it.
That would be weird.
Story, I think it broke last night. So
but if you want to give me money whilst I'm asleep, I'm okay with that. You just can't watch me. Those are the rules.
In the papers today, so Keir Starmer has handed back some £6,000 worth of gifts, 6 Taylor Swift tickets to Doncaster races, clothing rental agreement. He has not handed back...
Well, I don't think he gave them tickets back, didn't he? He paid for them. Like, you can't really give the tickets back. It happened. He's gonna undergo reversion therapy to forget the memories of having gone to the concert, so that it didn't really happen. You know, like no, it happened.
He gave the money back to the rich people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Money for tens of thousands of pounds for clothing, football tickets, and the like. Ian.
I guess you might come to me first on this question.
I wonder why.
Well, look, David, I mean, it's the question of the time at the moment, and I think it's really important to say that the reason we're talking about this in the media and in the public at the moment is because of everything being transparent. You know, this has come about because the public register has been updated with the pre- and post-election register of members' interest, and that's the right thing for that to happen. And
there's definitely an element of truth to that. That, like, one of the reasons that this is backlashed is because they did do this sort of honest thing in some of these cases, but it just looks bad. Whereas the Tories just don't bother even registering it.
Yeah, like there's one, like, people are going mad because Angela Rayner registered the time that she had in her DJ booth in Ibiza. And I'm like, this isn't what, this is the, right, if anything isn't a political favour, her having it large behind the decks. Yeah. I don't think that, what is she getting nobbled by Big DJ?
She's in the pocket of Big Scratch.
Tables. Yeah, exactly. Come on.
It's ridiculous. Also, if you look further into that story, it's literally just the DJ booth experience, because she paid for her own flights to and from the place. It was a holiday, but because technically the DJ had to pay £800 to have the thing set up, that has to be registered as potentially, you know. So she went all out to try and look above board. And they printed, oh, she got £800 free holiday. No, she fucking... Also, what kind of fucking holiday to Ibiza cost £800? This is not 2001. Stop it.
Yeah, it's very silly.
Ridiculous
Very
show.
funny.
Anyway. Also, it was like the only cool thing a politician has done in ages.
That's how we're here, because of that transparency.
Well, if it's all so fine, why is he handing back £6,000?
Well, he's taken the view that since he became Prime Minister, he's handed back the money. He hasn't actually handed back the money, he's paid for them himself. He's not, these aren't cash value, you have to attach a cash value to a ticket in kind. But, I mean, politicians, businesses...
To be fair, you know how much the ticket costs, because other people paid for the tickets, didn't they? Like, you don't have to guess with that one. Go to Ticketmaster, you prick.
Yeah, like with the tickets, there's an actual monetary value that's been spent to buy them for him for Simon. Whereas in Angela Rayner's case, now it's just what would you reckon that a time in a DJ booth would be worth as like a guess? Like that is we've roughly calculated how much that would otherwise cost for this free thing that I was given by a mate that I know. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, and like the Tories stole billions. Fucking billions, and the papers just went, it's a shame, innit? Never mind. Anyway, have you heard about Jeremy Corbyn being a Nazi?
I'm sure Matt Hancock's mate down the pub was incredibly good at delivering PPE, actually.
True. He was just the best person for the job, and it was his round, so, you know.
The media, everyone on this panel, were invited to a plethora of events and organisations, either in our own constituency or nationally, and we make a judgment call about whether or not we take those up. And
so do you think he's right to hand back the £6,000?
Well, the two questions you have to answer yourself is it transparent and honest? And
yeah, the fucking ferry thing, I forgot about that, yeah. They gave a fucking contract. They gave him they gave a contract to a Tory donor who had a company that said it could provide ferries that had existed for like 2 months and had no ferries.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can also provide you with no ferries if you want to give me millions. What the fuck does that...
Yeah,
what?
Just another episode in Tory fiscal prudence.
Yeah. And then if you add that to the fact that Boris Johnson wanted to go over to the Netherlands and steal all the drugs, was he going to do it in the ferries that he didn't have? What was he going to do? Swim there? Yeah, we're going to swim to the Netherlands, mate. You steal all their drugs and float back high as fuck. It's not that kind of drugs, Boris. I'll bring my own then. You know, like what?
Yes, it is transparent and honest. And the second thing you've got to ask yourself is, has there been any undue influence played on these kinds of issues? And the answer to that is quite clearly no. And the government have shown since 90 days ago when we formed the government that we've taken on some of the vested interests, ticket pricing being one of them, a football regulator being another, and I know Arsenal.
Well, let me ask you
this.
Do you think Keir Starmer is right to hand back the £6,000?
Well, I think he's right to, if he feels that that's the judgment he wants.
You know what the stupid part about this is? The most stupid part about all of this is that no one would have noticed if he's just not given it back, and now he's created another like 3 weeks of drama over it. He's such a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you look right. You've got to react to it straight away or stick to a line. You can't stick to a line for a few weeks and then spinelessly gimp out and give £6,000 back. Especially because no one's like, oh, well, that cleans the slate then. Because you took like fucking £16,000 for your wife's clothes, which you're not paying back.
It's also like an admission of guilt as well.
Yeah, it is a bit. But like I say, if he does that at the start, at least he can do the whole penitence thing, take his punishment, and like move on. But instead, the only things we've talked about since he got into office are freezing grannies and free shit. Like, it's disastrous PR. And they're not even like... this story is so... I mean, it's not that important. The much more important one is the fact that he gave they got a donation of $4 million from a fucking fossil fuel linked hedge fund, and are now rolling out actually doing anything about green energy. Now they're just going to carbon capture. Which is so. I saw someone use the analogy for the carbon capture scheme as your bath is overflowing, and instead of stopping the taps, you're just buying a fancier mop. And it's sort of true. You're not solving the problem at all. You're just sort of covering for the issue and allowing it to continue and get worse.
It's genuinely frustrating.
Yeah.
To make, I think he should do so. Given there's two big things that have been announced alongside it. One is to tighten the Ministerial Code, and the second one is this really strange thing about making sure that the MPs register of members' interest has equivalence with ministers. I mean, Andrew will know this, he was a minister before. MPs have to register everything in their register of financial interest within 28 days. Ministers don't. So we're going to have to bring that together to give that equivalence,
let me
to make
ask
it
you
even more
then, Ian.
transparent. But there's nothing
Okay,
here
let
gone
me
wrong.
ask you
Nobody's
then.
broken any rules here.
Okay, so
and it's all transparent in the public domain.
let me ask you then, because a couple of weekends ago you accepted hospitality to go and see Liverpool v Bournemouth, paid for by Sam.
And is he an MP for Liverpool or Bournemouth? I don't think he is. I think he's literally an MP from hundreds of miles away from either of those places. Okay. I don't see why you had to go to that game then, mate.
And Scotland. Do you think you should be handing the money back for those tickets?
No, well, it's what I've said before. We go to a lot of events under a judgment call to...
Does anyone pay to go to football anymore, or is it just fucking ministers on the take? Chelsea have an attendance of 63,000 MPs today. Well done. Like, what?
Engage. I mean, Salmon Scotland is the largest exporter of food in the United Kingdom. They employ a lot of people. I was up in Shetland a few weeks ago on a ministerial visit. Salmon was a great conversation there. So
but
really
why
is
do you
important
need to go
get
to a football match
Well,
to engage with Salmon Scotland? Salmon Scotland. I mean, couldn't you just have a meeting?
Well, you engage in a lot of different ways. It was in Liverpool because party conference was there, so we were all in Liverpool.
But Salmon Scotland's...
Yes, exactly. They were trying to influence you unduly by giving you free shit. The fact that you happened to be in the city at the time is irrelevant. I don't care whether you travel to Liverpool to get the freebie or not. I don't care if you live there. Look, it's right. You are supposed to regulate. You're supposed to regulate the salmon fishing industry like every other fucking industry. They've given you free shit. What do they expect in return, you cunt?
Yeah, like this wealthy donor's private jet just happens to land at Liverpool Airport during conference season.
Like, you didn't need... Look, you could negotiate and talk to Salmon Scotland anywhere at any time. Why did you have to accept £150, £1,000, I don't fucking know, ticket to a box at fucking Anfield? You didn't. You're just on the take, you greedy little bastards. And again, it's fuck all compared to the billions the Tories stole, but that doesn't make it good. Saying, well, my pile of shit that I just ate was tiny by comparison to that one. So what? It's still mental. Stop it.
It's based in Edinburgh, and you're an MP in that area.
Well,
I mean, why don't you just have a meeting with them?
Let me give you an example. I went to the...
Well, why don't you address that one? Why don't you just have a meeting rather than go to a football?
I went to the Edinburgh Military Tattoo over the summer to engage with the tattoo because it is just outside my constituency. It's one of the biggest events that happen during the Edinburgh Festival. I accepted hospitality and a ticket to do the salute there at the Edinburgh Military Tattoo. So these are all judgment calls. Now,
yeah,
I can understand
but you're from that city. You're an MP in that city. That's fine. That's not the same fucking thing, is it? Oh, God. No one is saying you can't attend any fucking functions, or indeed that you have to pay for literally every single instance of this. Especially if you declare it and so on, right? That's a perfectly reasonable thing that they would invite you to a significant cultural event in the city in which you're an MP. Fine.
Have you seen the new one that's come up today?
No, what?
Where
God knows what it
apparently
is.
Labour was selling breakfast dates with Jonathan Reynolds for £30,000.
What the fuck? For a start, you'd have to pay me 30 grand to have fucking breakfast with that dope, right? And secondly, what the fuck is that other than obvious, blatant access selling?
Exactly. It's been described as cash for croissant, which I think is funny.
That is good. That is quality.
Well, no, we're literally going to get cash for honours as
like,
well.
Like literally,
Dale Vince's ex-wife is trying to claim that he's definitely going to get.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Although that's not new. That's been around forever. We all absolutely know that the House of Lords is just stuffed with people who gave money to political parties. That's always been the case. Lloyd George, literally, this was back in the 1920s, had a list with exact prices that he would give out to rich people. You could get a peerage for X amount of money. And that was just seen as like, oh, that's just how Westminster operates.
Labour are going to abolish the House of Lords, though, chat.
Yeah, it's not an issue!
Not an issue.
Not an issue.
How difficult all this looks. I can understand the public are angry about it. I can understand some of the public don't care about it. But the bottom line here is that it's all transparent. It's all on the public register. And Keir Starmer, as Prime Minister, decided that to clean up politics, he wants to make sure that
there's
he can
lots
change
of
the
hands
rules.
up. David, where are you?
He wants to make sure that everybody knows how filthy we are.
Exactly. Just being corrupt, but in a more honestly corrupt way, is still corruption. What you're doing there is still corruption.
Thing is, I could see a world where someone out there is trying to deliberately engineer this so the public sentiment is so strong against it, they're forced into clamping down on this stuff to stop the opponents. But that would involve having a Labour Party who aren't massively already very well informed with the private sector, which they obviously are. So, like, no, they just got caught out.
True. Cabinet ministers don't need to repay gifts, says Keir Starmer. A row over donations has engulfed Sir Keir's top team in recent weeks around the lavish gifts, blah blah blah, which have included clothing. Is this? Why am I having to read this out, Mirror? Sort yourselves out, you cunt.
We're going to draw up some principles so that everyone can see the basis on which donations, etc., can be accepted. We're working on that. Until they're drawn up, I decided to repay so that any future activities of me or anybody else are in accordance with whatever the new principles are. That's my personal decision. I'm not...
The new principles. Not even the new rules. Like, no, we had a point of principle to be corrupt in the past, but whatever the new principles are, we'll stick to those in the future as well, we promise. Yeah, absolutely.
What's that? Keir Starmer has one set of principles, but if you don't like them, he has another.
He does. By the way, I know we're probably going to get to this at some point, but just in the sidebar there, Diane Abbott, Starmer's decision to repay gifts makes him look fucking guilty or whatever. Like, she is literally testing it. She is testing where the line is. How far can she go before she gets kicked the fuck out? She is trying his nerves. He doesn't want to go there because he knows it would be really bad and the press would savage him as a racist and all the rest of it. And rightly so, because he is. But, she's really pushing that shit.
Yeah.
Saying others should do the same, but that's why I did what I did.
Well, there you go. The drip in chief. It's just a sign of how shrunken our political system is that he is the Prime Minister. Fucking hell. Didn't we used to have great statesmen at one point? I mean, they were probably wankers as well, but at least they kind of talked a bit. Churchill could give you a one-liner, even when he was drunk, and do a genocide, and make it look stylish.
Is that this word transparent, it's like a get out of jail free card for you. I would say it's transparent to who? It was transparent to the people that you have to tell, but not to the wider public or your constituents.
Well, it's on the public register.
It's on the public register.
It had to be
But
registered
who
publicly.
consults that? It should be made public to your constituents at the very minimum when it happens.
It's registered publicly.
Yeah, it's registered publicly, but nobody checks. It's like when a newspaper has to publish a fucking correction and they do it on page 15.
In the bottom corner in size 3 font.
Exactly. The original splash of Douglas Murray is Ian Murray is pedophile was on the front page, but correction, Ian Murray is not a pedophile, is on page 36. Like, no one sees it, mate. Don't pretend like you're not aware of that dynamic. Dickhead.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I quite like the old Bill Hicks line about that they should dress up like racing car drivers with all of their sponsors on their shirts so everyone knows who owns them. Yeah, that works.
Which is why people are discussing it, because Number 10 and Prime Minister decided to seek further clarity from the registrar to see if it had been registered correctly in terms of some of the things that had to be registered.
I think
so it has all been transparently put into the public domain.
The reason we're talking about today is because Keir Starmer suddenly raised it again by giving back £6,000 worth. Quite wise she doesn't give that back and not the rest of it. I'm not clear, but I might come back to you on that.
Okay. So I forgot that we get copyright cooked on YouTube, but so far I haven't been.
Interesting.
I'm gonna stick with it for now, and we'll see where it goes.
It should tell you if you start getting copyright cucked in your.
It'll sort of temporarily cuts it off unless you stop, and then eventually.
And then if you keep going, then it fucking bans you for a week.
Yeah, but like it hasn't done any of that yet, so I'll keep an eye on it, and we'll see.
Well, I think it's important to stay on that point, because he hasn't given back the Arsenal issue because he was a season ticket at Arsenal.
And the rest of the clothes?
It was made, well, that happened before the election.
Right, yeah, but he's got a regular fucking season ticket which costs £1,000 or whatever, whereas he was receiving $3,500 a piece tickets in the box. So it's not the same thing, is it? Come on, that's such a lazy excuse.
a different donation, and therefore what he's done is he's given back the stuff since he's been Prime Minister in terms of the stuff that he's taken in terms of
But
entertainment.
why is it okay? Okay, since you raised it.
Yeah, hang on. Whoa, time out. Why is it okay for him to have been corrupt when he was just the opposition leader? When he was about to become Prime Minister, and therefore it would be in the interest of businesses to try and seek favour with him.
He had to try and make sure they influenced policy before the manifesto was written.
Exactly, yeah. Like when, was it Vodafone did it? And then got what they wanted? And now this
Google did it as well.
Yeah, Google did it. This hedge fund gave £4 million, and all of a sudden their industry is going to receive help rather than hindrance.
So yeah, they're going to have having somebody appointed as a climate envoy.
Brilliant.
Ross, I'm going to get round the rest of you. Why is it okay just before he's Prime Minister, but not okay just after he's Prime Minister?
Because he's realised that there's been a problem in terms of the perception in the public. It's been transparently put onto the register.
So again, you keep doing it, guys. There's a problem with the public. We're not the ones that are wrong. The public are wrong. Okay, well, get ready for another fortnight of bad fucking press coverage, because that's how it works. If you keep condescending to people, they will react worse to you. You're supposed to be contrite and pretend that you give a fuck. Not just say, well, the public are in the wrong. Because in a democracy, the public can never be wrong. In the same way that the customer is always right. It's not literal, of course, but you have to pretend that that's the case.
The thing is, even then, like, this is an issue of how the public want these things to be done, yep. And also on top of that, even if the public were like misguided, that doesn't change the fact that, well, no, they are actually right about the fact that it is a conflict of interest.
Yeah, exactly. Of course it is. Yeah, like what the fuck does Lord Ali want? I'd be interested to hear that. Or is he just a crazy philanthropist, but only for very powerful people with no ulterior motive whatsoever?
He wants to clean up politics. That was one of the big things he said before the election.
Okay.
And my goodness, it needs cleaned up.
Okay.
And the rules were changed. So he wants to, what he has done is he's paid for these in advance of the review that's going to come forward in terms of the Ministerial Code.
The man there in the black t-shirt.
Would he have paid for them if we hadn't called him out? If it hadn't been picked up,
nope.
Would he have put himself forward and said, I've taken these gifts, I need to pay for them? No, he wouldn't. He would not.
Yeah, he's sorry he got caught. Yeah.
Pretty much.
He doesn't give a fuck. He'd have carried on taking the gifts. I'm sure he still will, but just more surreptitiously. Like, did you see some of the clothing budget stuff was put down initially as office expenses? Technically, I mean, he does wear his clothes in the office, but like I would think that would be like chairs and desks and stuff.
I mean, also, I also go to the toilet in an office, you know.
True.
I'm not gonna get my donor to buy me toilet roll.
But if someone does want to pay for my toilet roll, subs and super chats and gifts and things are available.
I think we do basically expect our subscribers to pay for our toilet roll, and so they should.
Exactly. You should be, every time I wipe my arse, chat, I think of you, and you should take that as a compliment.
I paid for them. Until we called him out, he would not have paid for them.
Well, the review of the Ministerial Code happens under every new government, and the review started well before.
But that's a different question. You're asking would he have paid the money back. In fact, I don't know whether you can be inside the mind of Keir Starmer, but certainly there's been an awful lot of adverse publicity about it. Woman here in the front.
Hello. Question. If you go to Taylor Swift's concert, you don't think, I'm going to do some work, sir. So why do you take a gift like that in the first place?
Actually, do you know, he's...
Exactly, you don't go to a Taylor Swift concert to work, you go there to twerk. Boom. I thank you.
He's had 10 tickets to Taylor Swift.
Wow.
So he's dead keen, or else his family...
Wow, he is a fucking Swiftie. Good God. 10 tickets. How much does that cost combined? Again, we're talking thousands again, aren't we? Fucking hell.
Dead keen, yeah, I don't know. Wendy.
So, I think it is interesting that the Prime Minister has chosen to give a certain amount of things back, and I think Ian is right to call out the difference between the Ministerial Register and the MP's Register of Interest. It is publicly available. That's potentially, in response to David's point, something needs to be thought about in terms of how accessible the public feel that is. That clearly is an issue. But the Ministerial Register, I mean, during the last government, we had a situation where the Ministerial Register was not published for over a year. It was only updated on a quarterly basis. And at that time, that was sort of post-Boris Johnson, we had frankly a fairground merry-go-round of ministers coming on and off of government and going on to the backbenches, and potentially their doings and their declarations being less transparent than the other backbench MPs sitting beside them.
But I
so
think,
there is a
what
degree
it comes down to, Wendy, because this is certainly at least the second time that that so many of you want to talk about this, is I think what it comes down to is, do people feel that MPs, cabinet ministers, prime ministers, opposition or in government, should they be accepting these kinds of things? So should you have accepted hospitality at the fabulously named British Kebab Awards, or open tickets or Scottish BAFTA tickets? Do you think that someone in your position, be you in opposition...
Did she get that from a donor or a donor?
Hey!
Fuck yes! Kebab jokes.
...position or in government should be
So
accepting
on the
that kind of
Kebab Awards,
hospitality?
it was not me that attended, it was a couple of members of my staff, and we were asked for representation, and I accepted on that basis. On the open, I'm the MP for St Andrews. Golf is one of the most significant tourism attractions in my seat. I also sit on the Links Trust that runs the golf course in St Andrews. So I do think it's appropriate for me to attend events. So that was in relation to, obviously, the media bill was going through Parliament, but as well as that, Scottish Affairs Committee, which I sat on, was looking at public sector broadcasting in Scotland. So what I would say was I was quite choiceful about the things I accepted, and attending the Battle of
So some
Scotland
things are
allowed me-
okay and some things aren't.
Well, I think it's back down to the point that Tim Farron made in this same programme a couple of weeks ago about what you feel that is appropriate for you to justify to your constituents, as David rightly said, and making that judgment. Do I feel that it's appropriate that I engage strongly with the golfing industry because of my seat in North East Fife? Yes, I do, and I do that appropriately and transparently.
Clearly, if she's playing golf, she lives in a swing seat, because it's a golf swing. No? Okay.
Jenny.
It's too early, it's fine.
I think
know.
Ian asked two questions at the start. So he said, is it transparent and is it honest? But the third question, Fiona, is it right? And that's really what we're grappling with this evening. I think on this Labour...
Surely if it's a golf course, the greens should do well there. The green is a... Never mind.
have let the country down, quite frankly. I think they came in on a wind of change, the opportunity to clean up politics, as Ian said, and in some respects it seems that they're no better than the Tories.
Well, there's no equivalence to the Conservatives,
if I could
to be
just
fair.
finish.
They were breaking
now,
the law.
when we look at some of these donations, you know, the Prime Minister taking over £100,000 for suits and his own glasses.
No, hang on, the £100,000 was for a lot of things.
Including
suits. But it wasn't 100 grand on
It-
suits.
Well, indeed, including
It was
his
tens
suits
of
and his own
thousands,
glasses.
admittedly.
Most of us pay for our own clothes in this job, Fiona. Now, secondly, we had the Deputy Prime Minister taking money to go to Ibiza, to a nightclub. And we've had the Education Secretary in England claiming, was it £14,000 for her 40th birthday party? I had my 40th birthday party in a pub in Markinch. These people are
Okay, you've
totally
got the SNP
detached.
Westminster leader
These
Stephen
people are
Flynn
totally
accepting tickets
detached
to
from
Wimbledon
reality.
and the
They
Wembley
are
Football
detached
Cup.
from reality.
But what about Stephen
Fiona,
Flynn?
Fiona, the point I make is that
Okay, no, but
these
also that,
politicians
why
are
is
detached
it
from
okay for
reality
him?
of the lives that their constituents live, and that is why this is so important. And obviously, we're going to go on to talk about further instances in my own party now.
Well, I'm just going to ask.
Again, the SNP, given their recent history with use of, you know, money that wasn't theirs, they've not got a great leg to stand. Like, none of the opposition parties have really got a leg to stand on. The Liberals, I guess, aren't that bad, and the Greens are fine, but the Tories, I mean, just corruption, fucking Mardi Gras when they were in office, and the SNP. Like, when the most successful fucking leader in your history had to resign because her husband was on the take. Like, just chill a bit, I reckon.
Also, it's just worth pointing out, like, Stephen Flynn's tickets to the Carabao Cup final, it was the value £350. Don't give a shit. Sorry. Don't care. That's not £4,500 football tickets. It's
No.
350 quid. That's basically nothing. I care far more about the £30,000 individual donation from somebody called Alan McCaskill.
Who is that? And who was that to?
Stephen Flynn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is interesting. Be interested to hear what that was about. Yeah. Like, I don't mind them going to fucking the occasional match or whatever. Who gives a fuck? But like, yeah, 30 grand.
It looks like the chief technology officer for Flotation Energy PLC, who definitely isn't going to have any relationship with the MP for Aberdeen, potentially.
Yeah, I think that might need to be looked into. Yeah, that does seem a little bit sus.
I mean, you're all going to get it. I mean, what about Stephen Flynn then? SNP Westminster leader accepted tickets to Wimbledon. And
I'm sure he would have done as SNP leader.
Cup final.
As many politicians do.
But that's the same as saying as the Prime Minister.
Well, why is the Prime Minister paying some of this money back and not all of it?
Hang on. Just 1 second. Why is it essential to the job for the SNP Westminster leader to go to the Wimbledon Tennis Championship?
Well, you would have to ask Stephen Flynn that.
Well, I'm asking you as the SNP represented on this panel.
Well, of course.
Because you're criticising Labour. I'm just wondering what you think.
Well, he's the SNP leader, so I imagine he was representing the party at that event.
Look, he promised to serve, and so we're better to see serve than tennis. Serve. Hey, that joke was ace.
Prime Minister's the Prime Minister.
Does the SNP need to be represented at the Wimbledon Tennis Championship?
You would have to ask Stephen Flynn that question.
Sounds like you're not sure of the answer to that. Okay. Andrew.
Well, look, I think there's a few issues here, and the reason that we're discussing it here tonight, and all starts off with the staggering amount of donations that Keir Starmer accepted, more than double the next closest MP in Parliament, £107,000.
More than double the current sitting MP, not as much as Boris Johnson.
Well, no, that's
Let's
Boris Johnson is no longer.
And there are
an
Tories
MP.
that have had more. They just don't have to declare it because they're not cabinet or shadow cabinet. Are there plenty of backbenchers who've received like fucking hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of bungs, but it's not relevant specifically because they're not like the leader of the opposition, right?
Yeah. This company, just looking into it, Flotation Energy, does appear to have rather a Japanese taste to it. Chief Operating Officer is Toru Fujishiro. He was the head of their offshore wind projects in the United Kingdom and Asia Pacific region.
I wonder what they're getting.
Lord Stephen Nicol. So they've got literally a lord as their chief executive. He was previously Deputy First Minister of Scotland and the country's energy minister. He founded Pilot Offshore Renewables, Kincardine, with Alan McCaskill, which developed the world's largest floating wind project and has been developing successful offshore and onshore renewable energy. Okay, so like being given 30 grand by a private company headed by a lord, former Deputy Scottish First Minister. Again, that seems pretty sus. That does seem pretty dodge, actually.
Yeah, especially when you are literally the MP for the place where a lot of these things are going to be headquartered.
Yep. That's not ideal. Yeah. Anyway, let's listen to this Tory prick pretend that Boris Johnson not being an MP means it doesn't matter anymore.
But clearly, he was leader of your party. He was leader of your party and he accepted an awful lot of money, some of it to pay for his own wedding.
Well, look, Keir Starmer accepted over £107,000. The reason that this is a debate is threefold. One, because a very senior donor to the Labour Party, somebody who was a significant donor in regard to that £107,000 worth of gifts, donations, suits, ties, etc., was given a Downing Street pass. And that looked to many on the outside like a donor to the Labour Party had undue influence over the new Labour government. The third reason that it's still an issue is the fact that this is all coming out at the same time when the new Labour government are removing...
It's still an issue. It's still an issue. I was under the impression that it was not an issue.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't an issue until 2 months ago. So why were you talking about still an issue? Was there a pre-existing issue that you don't want to talk about there before this government? Because there was a time when this government didn't exist and now it does. So at what point along that timescale did the problem start, friend? What happened there?
£300 of the winter fuel allowance from some of the poorest pensioners in the country, and frankly,
the Labour Party is so shit. They're getting fucking Scots to clap an austerity supporting piece of shit. They've been outflanked to the left by an ex-Tory minister.
Haven't it?
Fucking genius.
Oh God. The level to which the Tories are allowed to to take the moral high ground on this. And it's so tilting.
It's
I cannot put
ridiculous,
into
yeah.
words just how tilting it is. Oh yeah, I love the guy, the party of 330,000 excess deaths. Oh, I love you talking about how terrible it is that old people are going to freeze. You tried to impose a dementia tax on them in 2017.
Yeah. Did you see... Oh, God. Did you see the... I mean, genuinely unbelievable story of the woman whose corpse was found after 3 years?
Oh my God, I did. That's fucking... sixth wealthiest country in the world.
Sixth wealthiest country in the world. And I look... I'm not going to go through the story in particular detail, but a woman who suffered from severe mental health problems, some sort of schizoid diagnosis that she had, starved to death in her flat. Literally, she wrote on the calendar up to the point where she could no longer do so, about how she had no money and no food and was starving to death. She starved to death, and her corpse lay there for 3 years. No health professional visited her in that time, no law enforcement, no social services, not even her fucking neighbours, apparently. So atomised a country are we that we don't even check up on our fucking decomposing neighbours. It's honestly, this country is a hollowed out wreck.
Absolutely.
Fucking embarrassing.
It really is.
When pensioners across this country are genuinely having to decide this winter between heating and eating, they find it absolutely abhorrent.
Again, in the light of the story I just told you, the idea that this guy gives a fuck about them heating or eating is rather ridiculous.
It's so fucking brazen, isn't it?
It's disgusting. These people should be... I mean, I do the joke about the trebuchet, but they should be in jail. These people have aided and abetted mass murder.
That a man who was on a very good salary before he entered politics, remains on a very good salary now as Prime Minister, and was on a good salary as leader of the opposition, needs somebody else to buy his suits and his ties. And that, I think, is the reason that we are still discussing this today. And I have no idea, frankly, why anybody needs to go and see Taylor Swift 6 times. It's very different from Wendy, who's conducting an investigation on a committee.
To be fair, she does have a couple of tunes that do slap, and she's a very talented person, so... And you never know, you don't quite get the full experience if you only go 5 times. That 6th time is when it really, that's when it really hits.
Into the British broadcasting industry, going to the BAFTAs, where all of the British broadcasting industry will be. I'm not quite sure the discussions that Keir Starmer was having with Taylor Swift. 6 times.
In fairness, he didn't. I'm not saying he went 6 times. He got 10 tickets. And presumably, your strength of feeling about why does someone who's well paid need someone to buy clothes for them, extended to why does someone who's well paid, such as Prime Minister Boris Johnson, need someone to buy wallpaper for him? Presumably, you felt strongly about that.
I didn't think quite
That's the response. Thank you. A journalism outbreak. Love it. Yeah. Why did you need him to pay for his fucking wallpaper?
Exactly. Again, I'll just go back to Matt Hancock or Michelle Mone, right?
Yeah, exactly. The corruption scale is just ridiculous. Now the journalists have noticed. Fucking hell.
Only about that, and you'd have to ask Boris Johnson that question.
All right, let's hear a little bit from our audience. Yes, actually, okay, yes, the woman here in the front.
Hi there. Leave Swifty alone. She's done some good stuff in life.
Okay, fair.
But I think you're absolutely right. Transparency, I think we haven't seen that. And it's a blip in the ocean what Keir Starmer's done. And I'm sorry to say what the Conservatives did with Sunak. It's disgraceful, and Boris. So, yes, he, like the gentleman said, he was called out, and that's why he had to come up with it. But the Conservatives have done some horrific things with money and the amount of stuff they've accepted. Millions. It's a drip. It's just a little dip in the ocean.
Okay. So the woman at the back end with the glasses and the stripy T-shirt, yes.
I'm curious, for your average Joe Blogs, when we do our tax returns and such like, the level of scrutiny that we're under for, any gifts that we've been given, money or such like.
Yeah.
It's
like, if you're on the dole and someone buys you, like, or pays, like, a bill on your behalf or something, you have to declare that. And they'll probably fucking take money off you for it. For desperately trying to cling to some sort of civilization.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's just what the age-old idiom, right? It's like, what's what's shameful for a poor person, but is admirable for a rich person, and it's taking money from the government.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Elon Musk does it all the time. Takes fucking billions.
Fascinating to me about what level of honesty goes on at the government when it comes to gifts, because these are personal gifts as far as I can see. It's only Keir Starmer that's wearing the suits. It's only, you know, him that's going to the Taylor Swift concerts.
But there's no dishonesty here. This is all. There's no law breaking here. This is all transparently on the public register.
Is that affecting his tax?
And that's why it should be there. And, you know, Andrew,
the woman's asking, does it affect his tax return?
Well,
no, he probably writes it off as a fucking business expense as well, the cheeky bastard.
Taken plenty of tax off me, and he knows about every penny that I've got.
True, they literally want to get inside fucking people's bank accounts to see if they're stealing any fucking benefits they're not entitled
Snooping
to.
bastards, genuinely fucking chilling shit.
It's just a real authoritarian Big Brother nonsense. And yet he's like, I mean, I don't know if I should have to declare whether my wife got 15 grand's worth of dresses. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm not sure he's taken any tax off you yet.
It's actually the gall of it, the fact that you can take all these gifts and think it's perfectly fine and just take them as little freebies with absolutely no sort of consequence to it. Fascinating.
You sat there very patiently, Ian, at the end of the desk here.
Well, I'd like to declare some soggy sushi I had in the green room before I came to the programme.
Soggy,
But
very sorry about
very
that.
soggy indeed. I mean, there's a saying in politics, you probably heard, that if you're in a hole, the last thing you should do is keep digging. And that's especially the case if you're a gold digger.
No, dig up, stupid.
And that's how this Prime Minister looks like now. I mean, he's given back £6,000 today. A mystery why he's decided to give this story legs, because it was dying away. It just means that everybody asks, well, what about the other 101,000 that you've
Exactly.
accepted in recent times?
Exactly. Like, it's the earthquake has happened and he's cleaned up one dustpan and brush worth of rubble. And gone, see, it's fine. No, what the fuck? No, it isn't.
Master political strategists turning Labour into the natural party of government.
The sensibles are back in charge. I love the adults being back in the room.
It's great.
There's no drama. It's just, don't you just love all the quiet?
It's nice, isn't it? The quiet.
Beautiful.
Times. I mean, he's also placed a lot of his own ministers in a very difficult position, because at least 10 ministers have accepted Taylor Swift tickets. I don't know why Taylor Swift is such an important engagement for Labour politicians, but apparently it is. And they're all now thinking, well, you know, like Wes Streeting or Bridget Phillipson, do they have to give it back now too? So I mean, this question about whether or not oh, and the other thing is today, Lord Alley, who did benefit, as Andrew says, to the tune of getting a Commons pass, who gave very large sums of money in benefits.
Well, not a Commons pass. For a start, he's already a member of the House of Lords, but they got a pass to Downing Street, which is arguably much more impressive, because frankly, most of the people in the Commons are useless fucking breathers. Just pathetic creatures. Whereas Downing Street is where policy happens, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
We're supposed to be a parliamentary democracy, didn't you understand? But no, we're an executive dictatorship. Don't be silly.
Today, this very day, he is now being investigated by the Lord Standards Committee for failing, or apparently failing, or irregularities in some of his declarations. So it's an appalling timing. And as somebody else has just mentioned, absolutely, this week, the very week in which the energy price cap has been lifted by £149. It's gone up 10%. 10% is a great deal for people who are in straitened circumstances, particularly.
Nationalise the fucking energy industries, man. Just, what the fuck? We're already paying through the bastard nose for them.
We need to get rid of marginal pricing. It's insane that we're paying gas prices for renewable energy.
Mad shit.
Particular pensioners who have lost £300 from their winter fuel payment. I've also another £300 because last year they got a cost of living payment. In Dundee alone, there are 20,000 pensioners who are going to be hit by this. This is going to cause real problems in Scotland, because of course bills in Scotland are much higher than the
so Ian, what do you think the answer is to this? Because it's what I've not yet heard from the audience, and I'd like to see if there is anyone who thinks this. Everyone I've heard from so far this week, and last time we talked about this topic, was just kind of fed up and said, you know, it just looks terrible. We don't think MPs should be taking this. Where does this go? Because, I mean, obviously MPs have been offered hospitality and gifts and freebies, whatever you call it, since time immemorial. Should there be a moratorium on it now, so they can't accept anything? Or has it become a bit of a storm in a teacup?
No, you've got to wind
Yes,
it back.
moratorium now. Ban that shit. Ban the sick filth.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. And I've got the same thing with jobs. Second job. Unless it's like you're on the board of a charity or something like that. You know, unless it's some fucking, like, harmless shit.
The thing is, even a lot of these jobs where it's genuinely something laudable that you wouldn't see a conflict of interest, like Rosina Allen Khan on the Labour benches is, I think she's Putney. She's a doctor. She was a doctor. She was on the front line during the pandemic. Like, what makes you think that you can serve full time as an A&E doctor and also do your duties as an MP?
Yeah.
I don't see how that works.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think you can do a full-time job outside of Parliament. And I'd be fine with them just having a complete second job ban. You get paid 90 grand a year, basic.
Yeah.
Basic, right? That's if you're on a fucking one of these committees, or if you're a fucking PPE, PPS, sorry, a personal private secretary. You get more if you're a minister or a shadow minister. You get paid fortunes. If you can't live on that, like I don't know what you're fucking doing. You must be the worst financial manager ever. No, you don't need to work a second job. We pay you so that you can afford. Everyone can afford to become an MP. That was the whole reason we brought in wages for MPs, so that working class people could do it. Because in the past, when it was just, you know, you had to be a person of private wealth, you know, a coal miner couldn't afford to give up his job and become an MP. Now they can. I mean, very few, unfortunately, get that far, and we don't have coal miners, so bad example. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, it looks appalling that the Prime Minister, who's a very highly paid lawyer, who is a millionaire himself, was taking these large sums of money from Lord Ali and others to pay for his glasses and his clothes. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Obviously, politicians have to get around, ministers have to get around, they have to go to social receptions. They can't declare every glass of wine or every soggy sandwich they get. That would be absurd. But it's all a question of scale. It's not just whether or not these you know, they were declared, or whether or not everybody else is doing it, which is what Ian is saying. It's a question of scale, and it's a question of how you present yourself. And the problem with Labour, I think, is that they, because of their long criticism of Tory excesses, they've persuaded themselves, or they've led themselves to think that they in some way are more virtuous than everybody else.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
because they do it, it must be.
All right, let me hear a little bit more from the audience. Yes.
God, a guy who writes for The Spectator is getting a round of applause for attacking
In
Labour
Scotland.
from the left. Oh, God. Oh, Starmer, I didn't expect you to bollocks it up this badly this quickly. I genuinely thought it'll probably be fine to the new year. Give him to the new year. That's when, you know, the legislation starts, you know, getting a bit tighter. The NHS, you know, comes under strain from flu and stuff in the winter. But no, it didn't even get that far. We haven't even got fucking frost on the ground in the mornings, and he's fucked it.
It is very, very funny.
What an absolute twat.
I need to do 1 sec. But I'll
Yeah,
still be
go
listening.
for it. Yeah.
I'll still be listening soon.
Swarm here in the blue t-shirt.
I think part of the issue is that it's abhorrent no matter what party that's done it, and we're living in a time when we're seeing more food banks, more food larders, more charities having to actually step in and do the work that the government, whether that's Westminster or in Scotland, should be doing. You know, NHS, they're only allowed to take gifts, up to £5. So maybe there does need to be a cap put on.
Gives up to 5. This is the thing. It's so comical. The rules they put down for everyone else. Someone mentioned earlier, universal credit. For every pound you earn or whatever, they basically take it off you. Because fuck the poor, basically. Whereas these motherfuckers are like, should I have to declare £4,500 tickets for the Arsenal? You cheeky little cunts. Honest to God. That kind of cheek gets your teeth knocked in most places. If you come at everyone with that kind of brass neck.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Jesus.
we got 'em. Victory is ours!
Not that I'm suggesting you should physically assault the Prime Minister or anyone else for that matter. I'm just suggesting that, you know, that is a thing that can happen at times. Anyway, thank you, Raptor Blue, for following. By the way, loving your work, Raptor Blue. Everyone go and follow Raptor Blue.
On it, and let's actually put that money back into the charities that are doing the work that you should all be doing in the first place.
Let me take a final point. It's the man in the blue jacket. Yeah.
Yeah, so the questions about this clearly make all the panel uncomfortable, so why not get together and legislate and outlaw the practice altogether of gift giving?
Well, I might let you have the final words. I mean, Keir Starmer's not suggesting outlawing the whole practice together. He's talking about some new principles, but none of them, we don't quite know what that means at this stage.
Yeah, but what it'll mean is that if you accept something, it'll have to be in connection with your ministerial portfolio, so it'll have to be relevant. And we've talked about a lot of things.
So how was you going to the fucking football to talk about salmon? Would that fall under that purview or not? Dickhead.
Military tattoo, golf, and other things. It depends on the judgment you make about.
Also,
if it's
did you see the
relevant to role
jawline
you've
on that
got.
lad in the chat?
You know, the BBC invite us to a lot of things, Fiona.
Let's look at him again.
But none of them, we don't quite know what that means at this stage.
Yeah, but what it'll mean is that if you accept something, it'll have to be in connection with your ministerial portfolio, so it'll have to be relevant. And
look at that. He's like the fucking Chad Wojak. Look at that fucking jaw. Oh, hello, mate. And the neck. Yeah. He's got nice hair as well. Honestly, I would blow this motherfucker's back out.
we've talked about a lot of things, military tattoo, golf, and other things. It depends on the judgment you make about if it's relevant to the role that you've got. And, you know, the BBC invite us to a lot of things, Fiona. The BBC, last night at the proms, the Chancellor was invited and sat next to the political editor, and Nick Robinson. So, you know, should Rachel Reeves have accepted that as Chancellor? Why did she go? Why did the BBC invite her? So there's a whole scale of these things, and I think it's right for the Prime Minister to say, well, make sure there's equivalence with MPs' transparency in the first instance, and on the second instance, tighten the ministerial code to make sure it's relevant to the job. If you then change the rules and tighten the rules, maybe you can start to clear this up.
Okay. Who knows? We might come back to this subject. Depends on, I don't know, something else might come out. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, I just want to tell you where we are next week. So next week, we're heading to America for the presidential election special. Of course, that is going on over there. We're going to be in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. Big, very important swing state. So that's going to be on Thursday.
Expect Nigel Farage to be there. Anywhere but Clacton.
Day on BBC One as normal, but at the earlier time of 9 o'clock. And you might think this is strange if you're sitting at home in Britain watching this, which of course most people who are watching this are in Britain, but some people watch it in the States. So if you happen to be watching this in America and you want to come and be part of our audience, apply on the Question Time website. The instructions are here, and come along, because we can have a split audience, of course, Republicans, Democrats, and those who are not sure which way they're going to vote. And we'd love you to come and be part of the audience. So that is our American presidential special, BBC One, 9 o'clock next week. And the week after that, we're in Rotherham. Service back as usual. So if you happen to be in Rotherham, we'd love to see you as well. Okay, so...
Honestly, from the bright lights of Philadelphia to Rotherham. What a swing. Hey!
Next question, Jim Donnelly. There you are.
Diplomacy has failed in both the long-running Russia, Ukraine and the Middle East conflict. What else can possibly be done to stop this madness?
Now, Jim, I wanted to pick your question out of the many questions that have been asked about the Middle East, because it seemed to me it reflected what many of you seem to be saying in your questions, which is reflecting a sense of helplessness, that this is all going on. The UN seems powerless. America doesn't seem to be making any difference either, and the UK government does not have any impact either, as far as one can tell. Is that a fair reflection of your view?
You mean after they tried nothing, they're all out of ideas? Wow. Who'd have thunk it? Maybe we could try putting any amount of pressure on the Israeli government? To, like, stop being fucking irredeemably evil? Might be a thing we could do?
Absolutely.
Yes. And do you have any sense of what you think could possibly be done?
Well, I'm lost now. I think the UN, as we know, the UN all these years ago was set up to try and stop any wars after the Second World War, you know, but you know, they seem to be powerless. Russia have went into the Crimea, and it was just washed
Russia has
aside.
a right to defend herself.
Nothing was done about that, and
Special military operation.
He's back to the herself bit. It's
I was just
ridiculous.
Like, yeah, I was like, so like, okay, well, every single thing you say about Russia, why we're not saying about Israel and fucking Lebanon and all that shit.
And not just that, but you know they're also bombing the fuck out of Syria as well.
They killed a Syrian journalist, a really famous one.
Yeah, they're literally attacking, like, they're just swinging wild at this point. They're just the drunk guy in the pub, look, just offering everyone out. Let's fucking have some. I'll have all of you pricks.
Take you all on.
Whilst he's got, like, a bodyguard of the biggest bloke in the fucking world stood behind him going, well, as long as you follow international rules, honest. Wink, wink, you know.
And it's now into a ridiculous situation within Ukraine. So that's been going on for the last couple of years, you know.
Okay.
The Middle East conflict is decades long in terms of where that's going.
No,
but now
started
it
on
seems
October 7th.
completely out of control, and it's difficult to see where
Literally,
it'll...
we are 3 days away from the start of history, from the 1 year anniversary of the start of Middle Eastern history. Did you know?
True.
Facts,
when the
facts.
state of Israel was created.
Very much so.
Which basically, if you look at the entirety of human history, is on average true.
Yeah, statistically speaking, it's the differences are minuscule, really.
Where it will end.
I mean, Wendy, that's... We've discussed, obviously, the situation in the Middle East on this programme many times.
And it's
calls,
developed since the last
calls for
programme as
immediate
well.
ceasefires right at the very beginning. Obviously, Lib Dems are calling for immediate ceasefires. You might as well have been howling in the wind, because it's made no difference whatsoever. Is there anything
our governments
really
didn't change their
should we just
fucking
accept?
position.
No,
of
that's-
Israel has a right to defend herself.
Exactly. Well, exactly, because they've changed from red Tory to blue Tory to red Tory, so you know the policy doesn't change. Yeah, I don't like the framing of that. Of you might as well have been howling into the wind. No, doing the right thing, calling for the British government to do the right thing, is still a thing you should do. I never expected Rishi Sunak for a second, or indeed Keir Starmer for a second, to do the right thing, but I'm still going to call for them to do so. At the very least, I have my conscience clear that I was on the right side of this fucking thing. I couldn't stop it. Its forces far beyond my control. But at least we fought the good fight. At the very fucking least, I can rest my head on my pillow at night knowing I'm not directly complicit in this genocide. As a British taxpayer, unfortunately, my bombs are still falling on them.
Exactly.
Right, so it's indirectly we all are.
F-35 fighter jet.
Yeah. We know they've been flying flights directly from RAF Akrotiri. We are complicit in the murder of our own fucking citizens in Israel. Like, it's ridiculous.
In the UK, all we can do is sit back and watch?
I mean,
or is there anything we can actually do?
I think it's important as politicians and parties to recognise that our influence can be slight. You know, I'm not expecting Benjamin Netanyahu to think, well, the Liberal Democrats have said that we need an immediate bilateral ceasefire, so therefore we must have one. But it's clear that the UK still does have a degree of influence, and I suppose ultimately my position is that all wars eventually end with political and diplomatic solutions. That's how they all eventually conclude. And so therefore it's right and appropriate for the UK as part of that international community to continue to push for that. What we need to be quite clear on in terms of Russia-Ukraine is
the difference between Russia, Ukraine and Israel versus everyone else is that most wars, as she says, do end with like diplomatic agreement. But not when you've got, like, religious fascists on one side. And to be fair, there are some religious fascists on the other side as well, to be sure. But the Zionists don't care to have a negotiated settlement. Their plan is total domination of that region.
That's true. Although I think you're probably pissing into the wind trying to get a diplomatic solution from Russia as well at this point.
True.
I feel like the greater Russia chauvinists have just taken over because they just believe the Donbass to be theirs, even though there's no reason why it should be.
Yeah, probably. You have to hope there are some good faith actors in the Russian establishment somewhere, so that when this fucking dodgy
they
old
probably are,
prick
yeah.
dies, like, which hopefully won't be too far off, he is very old.
I think there probably are plenty of people within the sphere of influence who do realise that they're on hiding to nothing, just losing this, throwing men into the meat grinder and incinerating their own economy. But then you also have to have people who are willing to stand up to Vladimir Putin without getting thrown off of rooftops. Like,
yeah. It's a fine line to tread. You know, one of the people who did the Salisbury poisoning is a member of the parliament in Russia now.
Of course he is.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Vlad. Really not signalling anything there. He just clearly he likes people who are tourists who go and visit the Salisbury Cathedral. That's all.
Exactly.
Huge enthusiast.
You know, an illegal war that Russia is conducting, and people, I'm sure, in the audience and across Scotland have welcomed Ukrainian into their homes, and certainly they did not expect that they would still be here. And so it's a situation that clearly shows that the world is less stable than it has been for a long time, and as a result of that, you're going to the States next week. My big concern is if we do see a Trump presidency, that we will see further destabilisation. But if I just come on to the Middle East, I think the situation that we have.
I mean, this is the thing, right? I think there's definitely a point there that Trump will destabilise it further. But it's difficult to look at the situation now and go, should we vote for the status quo?
I mean, the issue, of course, that we have with Russia-Ukraine is that, the status quo will be that Russia will win the war.
In that Ukraine will run out of people first, yes.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. Thank you, Elliot. One time I met a Ukrainian refugee by an Aldi, and I walked her home. Might do one complete through Google Translate. I don't know what the fuck that means, Elliot, but thank you. And thank you, James Holmes, for 5 gifted tier 1 thingamajigs memberships on YouTube. Much love.
Even now, with what has happened this week in relation to Lebanon and the missile attack by Iran, is I think that the next step for Israel is to seriously consider what is the longer term strategic aim.
Yeah, they have considered it.
Yeah,
they have considered it, and they said, yeah, that's excellent. We'd like to be in perpetual conflict and steal loads of territory.
Yeah, exactly. They very, very purposefully thought about this, and what they want to do is more war and take all of the land. That's their strategic goal. And pretending otherwise is ridiculous. Like, we have to do this silly game where, not to be accused of being anti-Semitic, we have to pretend that the Israeli government are good faith actors in this.
Yeah.
When they're obviously fucking not. They're obviously weird apartheid fascist freaks. And we have to pretend like Benjamin Netanyahu can negotiate a settlement. No, he fucking can't. He has no interests or fucking need to do so. America has shown that he will face no repercussions. So why would he bother?
What is happening there, because clearly, if they choose to retaliate, then that is just going to further inflame the situation. I think if we are looking for what is the long-term solution in the Middle East, I would ask that is considered. But it's quite clear again that a two-state solution in relation to Palestine is the only way forward, even if that feels even longer away than it's ever been. So it's
literally impossible right now because of what Israel and the American government are doing in Jerusalem. You can't have East Jerusalem as the capital of a contiguous Palestinian state, so it's literally impossible right now.
Yeah.
They would have to fundamentally, completely flip, and that's never going to happen. So, like, I don't want to be like the prophet of doom, but I genuinely don't see a positive solution to this situation. Because America will never allow it.
Reflect and accept that people do feel hopeless, and it does feel a less safe world than it has been for a long time, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to utilise the levers that we have.
Andrew.
Yeah, look, diplomacy is obviously key to everything moving forward. There's absolutely no way that we should cease our diplomatic efforts to try and resolve the crises that we see around the world, using the UK's voice as we have it at the UN Security Council. It's deeply depressing to see the weakness at the heart of the UN, caused in part by Russia and China and their constant undermining of the view of the vast majority of nations at the UN to find peaceful solutions to multiple...
Dickhead. Every time the nations of the world have come together and said, should we have some mild criticism of Israel? America vetoes that shit. And Britain, being pathetic, abstains. So as not to look like the bad guy, but also not annoying America and Israel. It's pathetic. The idea that it's Russia and China destabilising the world. When we've literally seen... They're even fucking... in Syria... The Israeli Air Force just bombed a fucking Russian Air Force base. I think by accident, but either way, like, are you trying to turn this into a world war? Because this is how you start a fucking world war, Israel. Stop that shit.
Appreciate it.
Like, don't get me wrong, I've got no problem with the Ukrainians doing it, because that's fucking self-defense. But you're just being a prick. Stop it.
Crises across the world. Coming down the train from Aberdeen today, I was struck by why the conflict in Israel and Gaza actually started. And I was thinking back to Radio 1's big weekend that took place in May 2023 here in Dundee. And of course, just 5 months later, it was at a very similar music festival with a very similar type of person.
Oh, for God's sake! I wondered where he was going with this analogy. I was thinking about the Palestine of it, and it made me think of the big weekend where lots of Scottish people drink Fosters in a field and get fucking high as shit and listen to music. And I was like, what the... Hang on a minute. Oh, October 7th, of course. Because apparently it's fine if you hold a rave next to a fucking Holocaust. That's just super duper. That's lovely.
That one of the worst... one of the most horrific terrorist attacks that had ever been seen in the Middle East or indeed around the world was conducted. And I just thought that, you know, had Dundee on that fantastic weekend in May 23 suffered an attack like that, you can very much understand the psychological impact that had on the people in the state of Israel. And we cannot forget that Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah...
Okay, stick with me with this one, please. How do you think the people of Palestine feel when they suffer 1,000,000 times worse and have done for decades? Do you think that makes them more predisposed to their neighbours, or not?
Yeah, quite.
Why is it that we should give a fuck about about Israeli public opinion, but never anyone else?
Who are lobbing shells into northern Israel are terrorist organisations and recognised as such by the UK government, and Israel is well within its right to defend itself and defend its people from further such attacks in the future.
A man in the black hoodie, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree that diplomatic efforts need to be better, but why is the UK still selling arms to Israel?
Very good point. Very good point. Oh, he sat next to the Chad Wojak. Okay. The pair of them. Love it.
Obviously, we've paused some of the contracts, but it's less than 1/10 of arms contracts that we've stopped. You know, we're essentially aiding and abetting a war. You know, we're providing parts to jet fighter pilots, jet fighter airplanes that are still bombing Gaza. I don't understand that. Why are we doing it?
Okay. Woman with a
blonde very good point.
I completely agree. I think this previous Conservative government and the current Labour government have not held Israel to account at all. They've continued to say it has the right to defend itself.
I know it's a small sampling here, guys, but to the politicians speaking, or to the politicians on the panel, look at the age demographics of the last two speakers and their opinions. Young people are not buying this bullshit anymore. The ball is rolling. BDS... and generally speaking, pro-Palestinian feeling is massively growing amongst younger cohorts. And as your fucking boomer Zionists die off, the demographics are going to change quite a lot.
And even then, even amongst like boomers and stuff, like people still don't like Israel.
They're not massive fans of it, but there's enough rich, powerful arseholes who are alive who support Israel. And most of them like own newspapers and fucking, you know, evil shit. And by the way, that's not JQing. These are all fucking Christian pricks, right? Yeah, so it's as though they die off and younger cohorts become more economically active and politically active. Don't be caught on the wrong side of history, guys. Don't do it.
Super simple.
But not hold any sort of boundaries to that whatsoever. And now it's progressed into 3 or 4 countries all across the Middle East. So when does defend yourself end? How many countries is Israel going to bomb before you finally stop?
Exactly. I didn't realise that Syria attacked on October the 7th. So I don't know why they're bombing Syria.
Syria were involved in the conflict, and it's because Hezbollah shot rockets into Mashhad al-Shams. It just, our country believes that this land that was stolen from Syria is Israel's, when it is the internationally recognized sovereign territory of Syria.
Yes.
Arms to them and hold them to account.
Okay.
Also, you can tell that person was Northern Irish because they said account. I still love that they got the, what's his name, the Northern Irish guy to do count down. Brilliant. Love it. Murray.
Ian.
Well, you're right to be concerned because what we know after this week, after 200 ballistic missiles were fired from Tehran to Israel. The Middle Eastern war that everybody's been afraid of.
In response to what?
Nothing. Israel's a small bean, good boy, ooh woo.
Exactly. And also at what? It's interesting how Iran managed to make sure that their missiles all hit military targets and no civilians were killed.
Well, no, well, they did put civilians in danger, though, because Israel, not using human shields, has put many of their military sites in heavily populated areas.
It was incredibly frustrating. One of the military sites that was targeted as Nevatim Air Base was in the Negev Desert. Like, it's not in a built-up area, but one of the cities that's is close by, not close enough for it to be a human shield, but close by because it is directly, or as a crow flies, between Tehran and the airbase called Arad. There was a picture taken with a bunch of people standing around like the shot down missile. And I was just like, these people had this missile that was shot down near Arad. And I was just like, yeah, that wasn't the target though, was it? How about it was shot down near Nevatim Air Base, the intended target of the ballistic missile?
Look, it was shot down near a place where people live. So, Also, I love that Israel want to have it both ways and be like, our civilians were put in mortal, terrible, awful danger. We were under such threat. But also, we intercepted all of them and no one died, so it doesn't really matter. Well, do choose one, guys. Are you under mortal threat or not?
I think there is one civilian that died in all of this, and I think that they were a
Palestinian civilian
in Jericho who got hit by falling debris after a missile was shot down above the West Bank. And I'm just like, okay, so I mean, yeah, not being reported as one though, because of course not Israeli, so not real.
Oh yeah, no. If it was Israeli, you'd know their fucking name.
Yeah.
Because they'd have been splashed all over the press. Honestly, the fucking degree to which the Western press has decided, can we deep throat the boots so it's the boots literally sticking out of our arse, please? That's how far it has to go down the throat now at this point. It's ridiculous. The double standards are farcical. If anyone fights back in any way whatsoever, it's anti-Semitic pogrom. Whereas literally bombing schools and hospitals purposefully, that's fine.
That's right to defend herself.
Right to defend herself, absolutely.
What has been forecasting is actually happening now. There's no doubt about it. Iran, through its proxies, the 3 H's, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis in Yemen, are fighting a war of extinction with Israel. Israel is never going to give up.
Oh my god, just the fucking Darvo. There's a war of extinction going on, and it's Israel that is on the hard end of the wedge. Fuck off, mate.
True. Look, I'm sorry, who's invading a foreign country right now?
Who's the occupying force?
Yeah.
Who is run by, genocidal maniacs hell-bent on control of Judea and Samaria? Who's the ethno-state here?
Look, I'm supposed to care that, 8 Israeli soldiers died. Oh, where did they die? In Lebanon?
I do care about Israeli soldiers dying, but not in the way that he thinks.
Okay, spicy. But yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, if they were in Lebanon, Okay. I mean, that's yeah. If you invade a place, you're probably going to get shot at.
Yeah, I like.
That's like if they weren't in Lebanon, they wouldn't have been killed in Lebanon. Very simple.
Yeah, exactly. Just like don't indeed invade other countries. Like super simple.
Us are never going to give up. So it's going to be a war. And I sometimes tire of hearing politicians, talking about a two-state solution or talking about some kind of ceasefire when they know perfectly well there isn't going to be one. And these wars only end in two ways. Either somebody wins, which is possible, or else both sides become so exhausted that they just give up and the war runs.
Or you have a negotiated settlement. Lots of wars have been ended by negotiated settlements.
Yeah, most do. Very few end up in an absolute slugfest or complete total military domination. Most of them are one side is sort of losing and so takes a bad deal in order to stop a worse outcome. That's how most wars in history have ended, to one degree or another. Usually it involves the overthrow of a king or something and replacement with someone a bit more friendly. But like it's a negotiated settlement. But at least in part because most of the time travelling that distance is fucking expensive and shit. It's only recently that we've been able to just sit in an office in Washington DC and fly a drone into a family.
Yeah. Actually, to be fair, he says there's also another option. I think rather than getting bored or tired, some people just run out of money.
Exactly. Yeah.
But all the more reason to BDS.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Look, it worked with South Africa, and the South Africans who made that work say that Israel is definitely doing an apartheid. So if the people who fought apartheid think this is an apartheid, I'll go with it. Nelson Mandela called it that. He didn't have a problem, and they weren't even as bad as they are now. Jesus Christ, Benjamin Netanyahu wouldn't have been acceptable in most of the governments in Israel's history. So extreme are they?
Very, very damaging. It'll affect all of us. President Biden,
Honestly,
in his
look
own
at that man's
stumbling,
jaw.
bumbling way, gave the game away today when he said that that America is expecting Israel to now bomb not Iran's nuclear capability, but its oil and gas terminals, and that means the price of fuel is going to go up. Price of oil has already gone up 5%. It's gone up 10% this week as tensions have grown. So that's going to cost a lot of money for people.
Yes, so it's stupid. It's stupid for us to continue allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
It's literally against our economic interest, our geopolitical interest as well. Like, people are mad about, there's so many refugees coming to the country, yet you want to fucking create a whole host of more refugees fleeing the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. And not just that, but on the financial thing, like, if you want the gas prices to go down, how about you don't allow someone to start bombing on top of where all of the gas is?
So stupid.
If the petrol, the oil all exists basically in the Arabian deserts, how about, hear me out, not doing wars on top of that so that it just all gets shut down and then the price goes through the fucking roof and we all freeze to death?
Yep.
Mate, that would be good.
And that will probably, I expect, lead to some.
Oh yeah, and did you see that the Houthis have bombed a British ship as well?
Good,
oh,
excellent.
God.
Well.
So we're going to go to war with fucking Yemen as well. Brilliant. Can't wait, lads. This is going to be fun. When I say British, I don't mean like a British naval ship. It was like an oil rig thing or whatever. Yeah.
From Iran. So that is going to go on. You've got these two powers. I mean, they won't rest until Israel is driven into the sea. That's what the Palestinian terrorists have been saying. They say from the river to the sea.
Okay, but what have Israel been doing? Not just saying, not just a charter written in 1985. What have the Israeli government been doing?
And on top of that, the Likud party also believe in Israel's sovereignty between the river and the sea. You cannot condemn one people for using the phrase when the other people also use that same phrase and are explicitly genocidal about it in a way that the Palestinians aren't explicitly so, because their future Arab state that they believe in For Hamas, for example, they believe that non-Zionist Jews should be able to live there peacefully as long as they follow the laws, which I don't agree with. I think it should be a binational state. But at least this is better than we need to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians to maintain the Jewish majority, which is what the Likud party believe in a future Israel state across Judea and Samaria. And the secular parts of the Palestinian resistance actually do believe in a multi-ethnic, multiracial, secular democracy, which, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't. What do you think is going to happen to the Palestinians when they take over Judea and Samaria?
Everyone would live peacefully, happy ever after, honest.
Yeah, in fucking refugee camps in Egypt.
Yes, yeah.
They mean to get rid of Israel entirely. They want not a two-state solution.
Based.
Hamas doesn't want a two-state solution. Neither does Hezbollah. They want a one-state solution. They want Israeli wiped off the face of the earth. And of course, half the Jews on the planet live in Israel. And after the history,
you don't mind being a bit more spicy when it's not your fucking channel at risk. I see.
I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I decry. I absolutely condemn. I do indeed condemn Hamas and Hezbollah. But one-state solution, absolutely, definitely one-state solution. The things they keep saying, destroy Israel. Like, you don't destroy nation states. You dissolve nation states. Nation states get dissolved when they fail to serve human utility. And I don't think the state of Israel does serve human utility. I'm sorry.
No, quite so. Quite so. Much greater nations than Israel have come and gone.
Exactly.
Persecution that the Jews have experienced over the last 2,000 years, you can be absolutely sure they're not going to give up. And we saw what they're capable of when they managed to blow up the pager devices of nearly all the Hamas.
So it's okay to do attacks in civilian areas then? That terrorism's good terrorism. So that's
I just want to shake these people and just go, oh well, yeah, they killed a bunch of the Hezbollah political operatives and people within the political party, and I'm like, well, they're not combatants. This is a LOAC violation. This is an extreme LOAC violation. What do you think they would be fine? Like if somehow some random, Al Qassam Brigade's militant on October the 7th managed to make their way all the way up to Tel Aviv, right, or Jerusalem. If they just blew the head off of somebody from the Likud party, like a member of the Knesset for Likud, would that be okay? Like, of course it wouldn't be okay. Like, it literally would not be okay. But because it's Hezbollah and they're terrorists, like, suddenly it makes these LOAC violations acceptable.
Also, like, they were going off in fucking grocery stores. There were, like, kids about. This is not some sort of absolute precise, it's only targeting the terrorists. I'm sorry, only terrorists were in the fruit and veg aisle at that particular moment. Are you sure about that? Fuck's sake.
Activists, and they have systematically eliminated the Hezbollah leadership. And that's significant, very significant. That's why Iran has resorted to ballistic missiles. It is possible that if Israel does sufficiently suppress Iran's proxies, eliminates Hamas. I'm not excusing Israel's...
And I love this, the idea that, well, it's bad when Iran has proxies, but we're just here defending openly our proxy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, mate, that's... well, we've made the point, but it's all fucking Western geopolitical hegemony. It's bollocks.
Yeah.
Appalling behaviour in Gaza and in the West Bank here, but I'm just saying, from a strategic point of view, if they do manage to eliminate Iran's proxies, there's a possibility that there might be a settlement there, because the Gulf states, remember, who were negotiating with Israel in the Abraham Accord before this happened, they don't want this war now to spread to the Gulf.
And are they democracies? Are they democracies run by good people who always abide by human rights laws that we should definitely be allies with? Are those the Gulf states you're referring to? The good liberal democracy Gulf states, yeah?
Yeah. Mohammed bin Salman, noted Democrat.
Gulf. They don't want oil terminals being bombed.
Let me bring the rest of the panel in.
There could be some kind of future on the other side of it, but it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Jenny.
Just briefly, to the lady's point in relation to arms sales to Israel, we've been pressing in the SNP for a ceasing of all arms sales to Israel. We welcome the fact that the UK government has taken some action in this space, but we want them to go further. To Jim's point, though, You're absolutely right, Jim. International diplomacy has completely failed in the Middle East. And the United Nations has been found wanting, not for the first time, if we consider a number of conflicts in recent history. You alluded to Russia, Ukraine, but there are others in recent history where the United Nations has not stepped up to take the action we might have expected it to. But I think we need to continue with an approach that encourages diplomacy, because that is the only route out of this. And you know, when we go back to the October the 7th attacks, we're approaching very soon the anniversary. Since that time, we in the SNP have been warning about the risk of contagion in the Middle East from that catastrophe in the Middle East, and how that will infect other parts of the countries surrounding. And we now see awful footage from Lebanon, from northern Israel and from Gaza, where nearly 2 million of the residents there are children. So we really, as an international community, need to come together. I don't think you will hear disagreement from the panellists on this tonight, and the UK government can play a key role in that regard. I should say that the former First Minister...
Is it a key role, though?
But
I mean, given that it's, from what one can see, neither Hamas nor Hezbollah nor Israel are listening to the UK, to the Americans, to the UN,
but there has to be,
to anybody.
But Fiona, there has to be a diplomatic route out of this via the United Nations.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying when you say they have a key role, I'm just wondering how key that is.
But obviously...
Pardon?
Hassan Nasrallah had agreed to a ceasefire deal the day before he was assassinated.
Yeah. Very possibly why he was assassinated.
Likewise with Haniyeh, like Hamas had already agreed ceasefire approaches previously, and now the press are reporting, finally, that it was Netanyahu that collapsed the talks.
What a shock.
I think we also should be mindful of the point that was made in relation to the American elections and to what extent that will play into how America engages with this. And America have a key role to play here at the table. So we need to be very mindful of that and the urgency for that ceasefire and a two-state solution.
Ian. First of all, Jim's point is what else can possibly be done to stop this madness? Because at the moment, it doesn't seem that anyone is listening, and it's just happening. And we touched on this point last week. We've had two people now ask about arms sales to Israel, or certainly you did.
Jim raised a good question. We were chatting, Jim, in the green room before the start of the programme. It's 40th anniversary of the Brighton bombing, and we managed to find peace in Northern Ireland when it looked at that time.
Near miss. Can we get some Fs in chat?
As if it was so far away, and it was only diplomacy and politics that got us there, and of course people coming together to say enough is enough. And you know, you've given the example of Crimea. When Crimea was annexed by the Russians, the international community didn't do anything, and look at where we've ended up with Ukraine and Russia. In the Middle East, it's only talking that's going to get this resolved. There is no bullets.
Okay, so it's bad, right? It's bad when the international community did nothing to stop Russia taking over Crimea, right? Okay, sure, right. What about when Israel took over all the West Bank and Gaza? What about that? Do you want to make a statement about the occupation of West Bank and Gaza?
I don't even know her. Who is she? What?
Exactly. Weird.
Sort of bombs that are going to resolve the issues in the Middle East. We've got terrorist organisations that Ian has mentioned that are proxies for the Iranian regime in Russia. That will continue to play out. We've got a problem with the United Nations. It is a membership organisation, so the United Nations will have to do what the members want it to do, and you know, it's right that China and Russia and they are agitating in the United Nations as well. So we have to find a way through this, and the Prime Minister was clear at Labour Party conference, we need de-escalation. Now, you might feel powerless or hopeless when you say that, but actually you've just got to keep saying it. You've got to bring people together.
Well, to that point...
No. I've got to keep saying it. You're the fucking government. Your job is to do it. Make that happen.
Pressure it. Yeah, find material pressure that you can apply to ensure that it does.
Don't fucking go on about she has a right to defend herself all the fucking time. Because that's not putting pressure on them, is it? When they invade foreign countries and you cheer them on, that doesn't exactly scream de-escalation to me.
Would you like to answer the man's point there about, strictly speaking, it's the UK government approving export licences for arms to be sold to Israel, and you've basically stopped some of them but allowed the majority of them to go through.
Well, the Prime Minister said in his first weekend in office that the rule of law is back in this country and we have to abide by international law. All the licences have been assessed under international law, and the 30 or so licences that were deemed to potentially be being used for the conflict in Israel-Palestine were suspended. So it's been done.
Right, but the other ones are also still being used in Israel-Palestine. It was nothing. You did the bare minimum to try and cover your arse legally. whilst materially not affecting Israel whatsoever. And they still called you anti-Semitic for doing it. Brilliant.
And under the very international law that we're trying to guide ourselves by at the moment. If we want to guide ourselves by international law, and we always should, that should be the sacrosanct way that we do things, then you have to make sure that you're doing everything by that international law, and that's why 30 were suspended.
I could go more into this, and I know you want me to. We did this question last week, so that's the only reason I'm not going to go through it all again tonight, but thank you for your point. Let's move on, take another question, which a lot of you asked about. Iona, where are you, Iona? Iona Wallace.
Scotland, particularly Dundee and Glasgow, has the highest rate of drug deaths in Europe. What can we do to tackle this?
So yes, Scotland has, as you say, the highest number of drug deaths per capita.
You what, sorry?
Legalise it.
Yeah, legalise it. Look at Portugal. It actually worked pretty damn well.
But in Europe, people in Scotland are nearly 3 times more likely to die from drug misuse also than in England and Wales. Jenny, this can't be something as a record that the SNP are proud of.
No, it's not, and I think we should be mindful that the challenges we face in Scotland in relation to drug deaths are historic. They have grown up over a number of years, but there are real challenges here, and we saw the statistics last year show us making progress, but this year, unfortunately, we've moved backwards. We are investing as a government through supporting local authorities, through drug and alcohol partnerships, and through a mission-led approach. In Glasgow, actually, we're piloting a safe consumption room, which I think will make a huge difference. But there are
that's literally the point. You legalise, you have these safe consumption rooms, which sound counterproductive and will get boomer conservatives very, very angry. But they actually work. Because you can have medically clean needles provided, you can have medical personnel on site to deal with any complications, and you can stop people from dying. It's actually a very, very effective way of curtailing drug deaths. You also offer them alternatives, counselling, other drug, also replacements that you can then wean people off drug addiction when they get, they want to get clean. These are things you can do when you have these kind of things. Otherwise, it's just smackheads dying in alleyways, as always. And who benefits from that?
Real generational challenges here in relation to drug use in Scotland. We need to treat the causes to provide that support. We also know that poverty is directly linked to drug use, and we need to be mindful of the impact of austerity policies on those who live in the most vulnerable circumstances in some of our communities, here in Dundee, but also in Glasgow too. So we need to take a whole-scale government approach to helping to support families through some of the most challenging times.
And I presume you think that decriminalisation is part of the answer, because I know the Scottish Government challenged Westminster last year to decriminalise all drugs. How do you think that would help?
Well, look, I think in Scotland we follow a health-based approach. We want to support...
See, this is where the surface-level shittery of the boomer conservative really doesn't get how you actually solve a problem. They just look at things like, say, clean use room in hospitals and things like that as like you're encouraging people, or if they, if you just legalise it, everyone will just do drugs all the time. No, they won't. It just means those that do can do so far more safely and have far better chances of surviving and getting clean.
Exactly. Treating it like a medical issue means that people are not scared to seek medical advice.
Indeed. And with clean use rooms, you have a perfect opportunity for healthcare professionals to engage with the very people they need to engage with. Exactly. Drug addicts. Yeah. But no, most conservatives are just like, oh, fuck them, let them die. Literally, that's their actual answer to it. Let them die.
Yep.
It's a personal failing.
Or spend loads of money putting them in prison.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Literally no one benefits from it being illegal. No one benefits. Except very sad old people who read the Daily Mail and go, fucking kids!
Because even the dealers benefit from it being illegal.
Exactly, yeah.
They get to make more money because the supply is lower.
Yeah, make it legal. Tax the fucking thing.
Yeah.
They do it with weed dispensaries in America. They've got fucking states have revolutionised their income streams.
They've got ganjapreneurs.
Indeed. I mean, they've also still got in other states black people in jail, but you know,
America.
It's not. It's America.
People and families. And
Thankfully, we won't have that problem because we haven't got any fucking jail space, so no one's going to jail again. It's never going to happen. Doesn't matter what you do, you can't go to jail now because they're literally full. It's fine. Did you hear of those who released? Like 2 out of 10 of them are already back in jail. How? How did you fuck it up that badly? Were you releasing just the psychopaths? Was it just those on the fucking murder wing of the fucking jail you released? Or did you just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo and hope for the best? Why are there non-violent people in jail? They're not a fucking danger. Anyway, oh God, I hate this government so much.
Know that the best route forward is one that supports families to recovery. And that's why, of course, the Justice Secretary has been leading very much so on this mission-based approach, providing that additionality, as I say, to drug and alcohol partnerships. I, in my own constituency over in Leven, have a drug and alcohol partnership in Leven, which works really closely.
But just sticking to decriminalisation for a minute, because this is something that's SNP policy. There's been another big experiment about decriminalisation in Portland, Oregon, which I'm sure you're aware of. They've just voted to rescind that and recriminalise possession of drugs because when they decriminalised it, overdose deaths rose by 1,500%. So given the appalling record of drug deaths in Scotland, why are you suggesting decriminalising it?
Well, there is other evidence to suggest that it can help, and I think it's important that we say that, well, let's look at the Glasgow pilot, for example. It's not yet started, so we want to take that pilot. Other parts of the world have used.
Exactly. The examples are there. The only reason it started to turn a bit bad in Portugal, surprise, surprise, is because austerity meant cutting back on those services.
Literally, the Conservative Party got into power, which ironically is called the Party of Social Democracy, which I think is very funny. But the Conservatives got in power and then just fucking stripped away all the funding for all of the things that were necessary to be able to clean this stuff up. Put loads of funding into the prison system, though. Wow.
Crazy, huh?
This approach, so I think we need to take a public health approach.
Where has it worked?
Well, look, Fiona, I think we need to take a public health approach.
Because I've looked, I couldn't find anywhere where it's actually reduced drug consumption.
Our approach to tackling drug use in Scotland has been overtly criminal in the past, and that is the problem. So
OK, but I'm just suggesting if you want to decriminalise it, presumably that's because you think it works. I was just wondering where has it worked?
Well, we want to test it in Glasgow to see how we can better support families and those people who have suffered from drug use for generations. Fiona. I think taking a more public health approach to this is the right thing to do, not criminalising people, because we know it's harmed families in Scotland for generations. So this isn't a Scotland unique problem. We look, of course, at
No, I'm not suggesting it is. I was just wondering why you thought decriminalisation was a good idea given what we've seen in other countries. But Andrew?
Well, it's not a Scotland unique problem. Every nation in the United Kingdom and indeed most countries in the world are dealing with drugs deaths. But it is worse in Scotland than anywhere else in the UK and indeed anywhere else in Europe. And yes, it's generational, but the SNP have been in power in Scotland for now 17 years and drug deaths have only increased. So something is going dramatically wrong. You used
Is there... Who was in national government for most of those 17 years, can I ask? Whose austerity policies might have massively impacted the connection between poverty and drug abuse and crime? That we know absolutely exists and exacerbated the problem massively.
I wonder, what a surprise.
It's almost like the Tories create the problem and then point to the problem and say, see, socialism. Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
International. The laws in Scotland are exactly the same when it comes to drugs as the laws around the rest of the UK. So what is it about the Scottish National Party's governance that let this get so bad? We in the Scottish Conservatives have brought forward what we're calling a right to recovery bill. We'd like to see the full-throated support of that from the Scottish government. That would give residential rehabilitation an absolute right to those people seeking to come off their addiction. And we are supportive of it.
And how would you pay for that? Because you can't even get basic drug abuse health services anywhere in the UK. That's why we have such a massive problem with it. Where would you fund these residential places? From where? It's interesting, since they've been in opposition for 3 months, all of a sudden they've noticed that government spending isn't the end of the world.
It's weird, isn't it? Weird.
Almost though they're lying to try and get back into government next time, so they can cut further.
of the pilot in Glasgow, but as Fiona said, international comparisons demonstrate that where deregulation, where legalization has occurred, in Portland, Oregon, for example, the very people that brought that in, expecting it to have a downward trend on drugs deaths, are actually revisiting that and actually bringing back laws to prevent those things happening. So I do think that the SNP have to look very hard at their record in government as to why we're in the situation right now, because families across this country are suffering, and we need to get it right for them.
All right. Well, I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say here, because, I mean, Glasgow has the highest number of deaths, but then it's Dundee. Dundee is second. So let's hear from some of you. The man, I think you've got a pink shirt or a white shirt in the glasses, yes.
I don't see how decriminalisation is going to improve the situation, because these people are still going to need to get the money from somewhere to pay for these drugs. And at the moment, the impact on society is that they're stealing, they're breaking into houses.
Okay, dickhead, stick with me. So you're saying that if you decriminalise, that part of the problem won't change? Okay, so, I mean, literally that's not an argument to not do it. What we're arguing is that long term, people stay alive and will seek medical help to get off drugs. Whereas in the current situation, none of that's happening. So
Exactly.
your go-to reason to oppose a thing is that it won't change anything. It won't change that one particular aspect of the problem.
Yeah.
Well, how is it worse then? Why not try it? For fuck's sake.
Exactly.
What we're
Like it
doing
better
now
elsewhere.
doesn't work. Just criminalising people hasn't worked. It's made the situation way worse.
Is they're impacting on a far wider portion of the community than just themselves.
Okay, and the man here in the blue sweater with the glasses, yeah.
There's been latest statistics show that there's been over 1,100 deaths from drug-related issues in Scotland in 2023.
Yeah.
The SNP have been in power for nearly 18 years. Now, they've indicated that that should have been going down, not in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So what have they really been doing about it?
Okay. Woman in the white top, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people forget that the Scottish government are like under the powers of Westminster, so a lot of our decisions with drug like policy and things like that comes from the Misuse of Drugs Act, and a lot of people do get decriminalisation and legalisation like kind of mixed up in a way, and I do think that there's been a lot of like pushback from the Conservatives to prevent like good measures getting put in place, like the safe consumption room. And I think also people forget that the drug-related deaths that do occur are often because there's not these like safe spaces to take drugs. That's where these deaths happen. So if we do not have those facilities in the first place, essentially, we can't really do much. And I do think the SNP are getting there. They're getting there slowly, but I think a lot of people.
But these people are allowed to die because they can't give you freebies to the football. So their lives literally don't matter to Westminster.
And also, again, it's just like mention austerity on top of this as well. It's just like, well, also there's a function of austerity here too, which is the Tory problem.
Yep.
People need to look a bit more at Westminster and be like, why are they not helping us deal with this?
Wendy, let's look at you. You're at Westminster. Obviously, you're not in government. I know decriminalisation is also something you support.
For cannabis. For
cannabis only. Right.
But what I would say is I mean, I was a police
Typical
officer.
Lib Dems, man. Look, we think it's a fantastic policy in this one area, and everyone else can fuck off. Like just tinkering around the edges, not fundamentally. Because no, stick with me, Lib Dems. No one is dying of weed overdoses. That's not a fucking thing.
I think you'll find my friend injected 6 marijuanas and now he's gay.
Well, R.I.P. to your gay friend. But cannabis is like the least problematic of any of the fucking drugs. Like,
It's basically legal anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because no one gives a fuck. No one cares about that because it's not an issue, is it? Like,
No, literally, quite literally, it's not an issue.
Very literally not an issue. Okay. But yeah, anyway, so but yeah, let's not tackle the heroin that's killing people. Let's tackle weed. Okay. I mean, they're not wrong in the weed should be legalized, but fucking hell.
marched off in Wester Hailes in Edinburgh in 1999, and the people that we are seeing who are dying now in relation to drugs are people who were misusing drugs back then. They are people ages with myself and older where they've had chronic drug use conditions and potentially maybe have been in rehabilitation and been clean for some time, but then have fallen foul of comorbidities. So I think we need to be cognizant of that. And there was things that Jenny said that I agreed with, but I think my disagreement is at the point where, given that we have seen from the Scottish Government cuts to rehabilitation, cuts to bed spaces, etc., and cuts to criminal justice sector more generally, which means that, the gentleman referred to the crime that supports the drug industry, means that people have not been getting justice, victims have not been getting justice, but indeed offenders have not been identified quickly enough and get the support that they needed. Now, in terms of consumption rooms, I think there are examples, for example, in places
Should we just make clear, just in case everyone's not familiar with what consumption rooms are?
Finally!
A place where you can go.
Yes, let's analyse a thing that people have mentioned. Okay, good stuff, good stuff.
And you can take whatever substance it is. I mean, any drug, as I understand it, you can take safely. You're not going to get arrested in there. You can take it there. There will be medical staff there to make sure you do it
and that
safe.
is about thinking about that.
Yeah, whoa. Yeah, so you've said the bad thing, the taking the drugs, but you haven't mentioned clean needles, you haven't mentioned medical staff on shore, so you don't choke on your own fucking vomit or whatever, right? You've also mentioned, forgot to mention that you can have psychological staff on hand to actually talk through drug users' problems and maybe get them on a path towards being clean. It's literally the perfect way in which healthcare can interact with the people it needs to solve this problem. But no, let's just let them die in an alleyway, I guess.
Chronic drug misuse as a health issue, because actually, in some respects we're talking about the criminal aspects here, but we're also talking about the fact that we have got the highest drugs deaths in Europe, and clearly there is a health solution in relation to that. But in terms of the Misuse of Drugs Act, I would agree the Misuse of Drugs Act dates from 1971, because I remember all the searches that I did in relation to drugs in relation to that. That's over 50 years old. The types of drugs that we have, etc. Is there a need for a potential review of that?
Okay, let me bring in the rest of the panel. Reasonably brief, if you would, because I need to get another question in.
Well, actually, the Scottish Government does have quite a bit of power here. I'm not sure people watching this programme will be fully aware that 3 years ago, the Lord Advocate effectively decriminalised the possession of hard drugs in Scotland. She made a statement to Parliament with the authority of the Scottish Government saying that she no longer expected the police to prosecute people who were found in simple possession of hard drugs like crack, cocaine, fentanyl, the rest of it. So that we do have effective decriminalisation already in Scotland. That was 3 years ago. Clearly it hasn't made much of an impact. I used to...
Right, because it isn't allied with the medical response necessary for it to. Just having a "we won't arrest you" policy, it doesn't do anything really. Well, it saves the taxpayer a little bit of money, but ultimately that's it. It's not going to tackle the medical problem because there isn't a medical part of that solution.
Exactly, yeah.
But this is the thing, the Conservatives just want, again, it's the fucking surface level bullshit. They just want to focus on no arresty smackhead, oh no. Like, that's the issue.
Support decriminalisation myself very much, partly because in Portugal in the early years of this century it seemed to be working and they seemed to be cutting the death rate very dramatically. But even in Portugal now they are rethinking this, not just in Oregon, not just in Canada and Ontario.
Wow, do you want to read why they might be rethinking that and who might be rethinking it? No? Oh no, you wrote for The Spectator, of course. Yeah. These
places, where they've found that the consequences of this are just atrocious in terms of crime, in terms of kids, tripping over drug dealers on their way to school. It's really been a nightmare, and that's why,
unlike now, where drug people, there's no issue whatsoever with like people in society being on drugs and children interacting with them or anything. That's not a thing that happens. What the fuck are you talking about, mate? It's not. It didn't turn Portugal into an opium den.
Oregon, for example, is now recriminalising. It's a huge development, that, and even in Portugal, where Drug overdoses have doubled in the last 12 years, where they're finding that people are taking ketamine in extraordinary quantities, and where they have all the criminal problems associated with addiction. Now we know what
and it's especially galling knowing that the Tory front bench are all coked up to fuck.
Yeah.
Like all of Parliament are fucking snorting the world, and not just on weekends. Like literally the toilets in Parliament. If you got all the scrapings from the fucking flat surfaces on that building, you could have a proper baggie of coke again. It's fucking ridiculous.
Criminalisation on its own certainly does not work. What does work is rehabilitation and treatment. And that's actually what the Portuguese were doing 20 years ago. And it's because of cuts, financial cuts, and what happened after the financial crisis, they've not been able to sustain these programs. But they do work.
Well, there you go. You said the right thing.
And anyone in the drug rehabilitation business will...
So why the fuck did he go off on that rant about, oh, they're recriminalising and that's a big... Like, what? If you know why didn't you just fucking say that and defend it properly, you prick?
Tell you, the first thing you have to do is enforce abstinence. People have to stop taking the drugs.
There you go.
Before you can work below that and find out what were the psychosocial problems.
Brilliant. Conservatives, abstinence. Everything has to be about abstinence. It doesn't fucking work. Human beings are not robots. You can't instill a kind of ethic within people. That isn't how it works.
That led to them taking drugs.
I'm reminded of the fantastic story from John O'Farrell when he was some sort of secretary for the now Lord Dobbs, but Alf Dobbs was opposition shadow health secretary during the AIDS crisis, and he came into the office one morning, and the Tories had, their response to the AIDS crisis had been abstinence and like family values and Christianity, return to basics and all that shit. And Alf Dobbs walked into his office one day and said, we need to come up with a fancy way of saying you can't stop people fucking. Was literally the phrase he used. And I love that. It sums it up perfectly. Yeah, you do have to come with a wordy way of saying you can't stop people fucking and you can't stop people taking drugs. So that shouldn't be your goal, because it isn't going to work. Okay? You have to actually come up with a more thoughtful strategy to try and have a positive impact on the situation. And this is just saying don't take drugs. Do you think someone on heroin cares if you say don't take drugs? You fucking knob. They're addicted to drugs. What are they going to do? Anyway.
In the first place, they've got to get off the drugs. So just decriminalising, just making it easier to take drugs. I mean, I don't see why we think that's going to make it any better, because it just puts the power back in the hands of the...
You already fucking said, you daft bastard! In Portugal, they massively cut the deaths when they properly funded it. So it works! What do you mean it won't work? You're a twat, mate. You're a fucking twat. Shut up.
Cartels and the drug dealers.
Ian.
I think it's 1,172 deaths this year. I mean, that's 1,172 deaths too many. And it's incumbent on us all as politicians, whether in government or opposition, to try and find a way to make this better. I mean, Nicola Sturgeon, the former First Minister, said maybe 3 or 4 years ago now that she thought the Scottish Government had taken their eye off the ball on this serious issue. I think the eye is still off the ball in this issue, and we've got to think about how society operates. It's a housing issue. We have a housing emergency declared by the Scottish Parliament in Scotland. We've got poverty rife in our communities. We've got funding for our local services have been decimated. Local authority councils have been decimated.
How does austerity help that? Because you're signing up to the same cuts from the Tories.
There's no austerity.
There is austerity under Labour.
This is not the austerity you're looking for. Okay.
£2 billion of public sector cuts coming to... I'm sorry.
Let him answer. We've been in power for 89 days. You've been in power for 17 years, and these figures are a disgrace. You should be ashamed of them. You should be ashamed of them.
All right.
You should be ashamed of them. We need to sort out our NHS in order to give those rehabilitation services. You cannot cut your way out of these particular deaths. You've got to invest in rehabilitation, invest in health, educational opportunities, training, reskilling, housing. This is a societal issue that has to be dealt with, and it's not going to be easy to deal with it. We're determined to make sure we can deal with all these issues. That's what we set out in our manifesto at the general election, and we're determined to see that through.
All right, let me squeeze in one last question. Quite a good few of you asked about this. Robin Halley. There you are.
Labour plan to increase the windfall tax on the North Sea oil and gas operators. Will this tax destroy the industry?
Can I just, do you have a particular interest in this industry? Is that why you're asking?
Well, I do, yes. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are in the industry.
Yeah, I'm Scottish. Yes. Yes.
I'm a petrochemical billionaire.
Yeah, I literally own the North Sea, all of it.
Industry. I used to work in and around the industry myself, and I just believe that we're putting our energy security at risk. I don't believe, well, I don't think Labour understand the basic law of economics here, where the more you tax something, the less you get of it. So that means that they're taxing the industry to oblivion. The oil and gas operators are leaving the industry. We're not going to, they're not going to get the tax revenues they expected. GB Energy are expecting to get 8.5 billion out of the windfall tax of the gas operators. They'll be lucky if they get a fraction of that, because there'll be nothing to tax.
Let's ask. We've only got about 8 minutes left this programme. I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to have a say. So the Conservative policy on the...
I would be interested to see, because this is the thing, don't just take these people as being just ordinary members of society. The industries do like to plant people, specifically. I would not be massively surprised to find out that he has some kind of connection, familial or friend-wise, with people higher up in gas companies. Now, it could be perfectly innocent, it could just be a twat. But don't take him as a good faith interlocutor necessarily.
Previous government, the windfall tax was 75% of profits. Labour plans to raise that by 3% to 78%. And also at the moment, because this is still plans, hasn't come through, there's tax relief on investment by oil and gas companies, and Labour is intending to remove either that in part or in whole. Andrew?
Yes, I'm afraid it is going to destroy the industry, and I'm also afraid that that is the whole point of what Labour are seeking to do. They're going to increase the energy profits levy, extend the energy profits levy, remove the investment allowances, which will undermine our energy security. Actually,
won't someone think of the oil companies?
Damage the drive towards more clean energy in the future, because the very companies that are developing the technologies, that are employing the skilled workforce in the oil and gas industry right now, are the ones who are going to be delivering the new technologies of the future to drive us towards a cleaner energy solution. Ed Miliband has said that they're banning new licenses in the North Sea, and what we're going to see is tens of thousands of jobs, especially important in Dundee, Aberdeen and around the rest of the northeast of Scotland, lost, sacrificed on the altar of eco-zealotry for no reason other than this drive to...
Eco-zealotry? They literally today were like, actually we're just going to cover for the oil companies and pretend it's a green policy. And he calls them eco-zealots. Why not actually just do eco-zealotry and show them what it's really fucking like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Agreed.
They've been locking up just up oil people for fucking years for conspiracy to cause a public nuisance. But you know, eco-zealotry. That's definitely a thing that exists in this man's head.
Get to a net zero grid, a green grid by 2030, an arbitrary target that nobody seems to think will actually be met. And there's been absolutely no realistic consideration within the government as to the impact that will be felt on the communities that are so heavily reliant on the oil and gas industry for their economies locally and nationally. So I do think it's going to destroy the industry, but sadly, I think that's the whole point.
This is a very important topic, but you're all going to have to be pretty brief, because I've only got 6 minutes left of the programme. Wendy?
Yeah, I think the issue that we have here is that you know, oil and gas is needed to achieve the just transition, because as Andrew said, there are companies who are working in the industry who will deliver the clean energy.
So you think
there are people within the skill sets.
So just to be clear, in your manifesto, because we haven't got much time left, you think there should be a proper, in inverted commas, windfall tax. How much is that?
Yeah, well, it's
is it 75%?
Well,
is it 78%?
Well, it's similar to, it's about properly ensuring that we do the taxes in relation to...
So what should it be?
Well, I can't remember the exact from the manifesto in terms of the amount.
It didn't have the amount in it, as far as I'm aware. It just said a proper windfall tax.
Because there was issues around the government, the UK government, the previous UK government did not implement in the way they expected.
So you don't.
But I think we have this recognition that you need to achieve the transition that we want to see to clean energy, that you need to have, there is a role for oil and gas within it.
Okay, so there should be windfall tax.
Is in terms
you
of
have to be really brief or else no one else is going to get a chance.
Is the fact that the Scottish Government have a role to play here. We have seen the fact that the ScotWind auction, but Cutie has already been emptied by the Scottish Government.
Let's ask the Scottish.
Oh, the Lib Dems are so shit. Like, what?
They really are,
genuinely,
aren't they? What's the point?
Yeah, what is the point? What is the fucking point? Just emptiness. There's just a void where a political party should be.
The budget,
but
and we need to change the demand profile, and the Scottish Government's got a role to play.
So
in
you
that
also support a windfall tax, but not sure by how much, Jenny.
Well, I thought that end point from Wendy was really interesting. The reason, of course, we've had to use the ScotWind funding is to plug the financial gap created by financial recklessness from Westminster, which created sky-high inflation and meant we had to settle. And meant we had
the
to
question,
settle.
just to focus minds, is about the windfall tax. Do you agree that there
We
should be
do.
windfall tax?
We
And do you
agree
agree
with
it's
the financial levy.
78%?
The financial levy, the powers rather around about this sit with the Westminster government. So I think it's important to say that.
We did.
Yes, we did.
Just because,
but unlike you, though.
Hang on. This was the question. Don't bold talk.
Jesus fucking Christ! This is you. Oh God. Right. You said we don't have much time, so let her fucking speak then. Why are you interrupting her? You've only got 6 minutes, and you've got to get through 5 dickheads.
At the same time, this is a question you were asked. Do Labour plans to increase the windfall tax? Do you support it?
We do support it.
At 78%.
Well, I don't think we've given a percentage on it, but I'm not going to be drawn on that.
Just asking.
I think the point is what you do with that windfall tax. What's the purpose of it? So I think Andrew's party want to fund tax cuts for the rich. Ian's party want to use it to build new nuclear power stations.
No, we don't.
And we want to use it to help people to create jobs, because we have to have, to that man's point, a just transition. My brother-in-law works in the industry. I represent a constituency over the water, which was decimated when the mining industry closed. We cannot leave these workers out of employment. We have to fund that just transition.
Ian, you're going to have to be really quick.
Well, we've already seen the impact, haven't we? Grangemouth is closing. Now, that was Scotland's last petrochemical plant. It processed fuel, came from the North Sea, processed crude oil that came from the North Sea through the Forties field. Still processing 60% of the diesel and petrol that's used in the central belt of Scotland came from there. It's going to close now. And what's going to happen? It's going to become a terminal, effectively, a receiving point for liquefied natural gas, which is coming from tankers from America, where it's derived from fracking, which is banned in this country. Now that's not a just transition. That's a just transition of fools.
Yeah.
So you agree that America should stop doing fracking,
and that we should transition away from gas consumption as well as production?
Because that fracking gas is also not renewable energy.
No.
And means that people's fucking tap water ignites.
Exactly.
Which is not ideal.
I mean, just briefly, Grangemouth is much more complicated than that, and we've been working very closely with the Scottish Government to find a solution. But look, the oil and gas sector have been raking in billions and billions of pounds of profits, and those with the broadest shoulders should pay their fair share into the kitty. Increasing the tax to 78% equalises it with what's happening in Norway. That money will be put into GB Energy. That money will be put into GB Energy, which is a publicly owned energy company owned by the taxpayer. So all the profits and all the benefits from that will go back into the public purse to be reinvested in clean energy. And we have to get to clean green energy by 2030, because if we don't, bills will keep going up. We're reliant on Russian oligarchs.
Right now.
But we haven't. The GB Energy has only just been announced to be in Aberdeen. We've been in for 89 days. Give us a you had 14 years and you had 17 years, and we're in a mess. So give us. We've had 89 days.
All right, but your dear leader, the Kia leader, has been saying that GB Energy was already set up. Are you suggesting that you haven't had enough time to pass the legislation yet?
To give it royal assent?
Yeah, because that would definitely suggest he's been consistently lying about this. Even when pointed out by a journalist to his face in Downing Street, he still continues to tell the lie.
reduced our carbon emissions by half and still had a profitable oil and
We've
gas
had 89 days to get this sorted out.
Well, how will GB Energy
You guys
cut
take
bills?
responsibility for the mess you made of the economy.
How will GB Energy cut bills?
Hang on, if you talk,
Please explain how GB Energy will cut bills.
If you talk at the same time,
It's
no
really
one
important.
can understand
Fiona,
anything
it's really
you're saying.
important for the workers in the North East and for the oil and gas industry that oil and gas will be with us in this country for decades and decades to come. It's an ageing basin. The industry itself is transitioning to renewables. Oil and Gas UK used to be the name for which is now Overseas Energies UK. The industry body has transitioned its own name.
Yes, and they're
to talk
deeply
about
critical of the moves that this government are making.
So we need to get GB Energy up and running. We need to get to that target of clean power by 2030 to lower bills, make sure we can get that just transition, and make sure we can meet our climate targets. It's as simple and straightforward as that.
I've got a minute left. Yes, the man in the green sweater.
There is a lot of wealth in the oil industry.
Indeed.
So I'm not surprised to hear a Tory complain about taxing the wealthy.
Hey, good lad. Good lad. Fuck yes.
There you go.
White sweater. Yes.
My view on this is that, yeah, okay, we need to be taking money back from all these high flyers, as I would call them. However, why is our energy still going up and up and up every 6 months?
That's the challenge.
No, it's not the challenge. You can stop it. You are the government. You could stop that now. Price
I
cap.
didn't realise this. I didn't realise this as well. Is that what's so stupid, right? Is that we always pay how much gas is because of the way our energy pricing system works. We have a system called marginal pricing, where we always pay the highest unit price based upon the energy mix, regardless of how much that is. Whether we get our energy 80% from gas or 20% from gas, our energy payment is always what gas costs, essentially.
Yeah.
Because we always pay the highest one. So the renewable energy sector is raking in huge amounts of money because they pay less for their unit energy. We still pay gas prices for it. So we need to get rid of the marginal pricing. Just get rid of it completely.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Yeah.
I'm a pensioner, and you're taking money back from me. I can't afford to heat my home properly.
Ed Miliband.
Just saying that's the challenge when someone is saying I can't heat my house seems a little bit. Oh, I don't know.
hate them. They're so bad.
Like callous, at the very least, if not just downright sort of evil, actually.
Terrible governance.
Because, like, you know that our taxes pay to heat both of your fucking houses, cunt. So when someone is literally saying to you, I can't feel that, just shut the fuck up for a second at least. And then go into your fucking rehearsed spiel. Talking over and going, no, that's the challenge. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. Are you a fucking malfunctioning robot?
Well, yes.
So, what are you going to do with that money?
There's two challenges.
Ed Miliband said,
hang on.
Miliband said he was going to cut fuel prices by energy prices by £300. Is that true?
Well, that was an independent analysis that was done on the basis of getting between
So
I notice he didn't say the word yes at any point in that answer. That was an omission there, friend.
Hang on. Wait, no, I'm going to stop you because we're completely out of time. We have overrun, so I'm really sorry about that. You deserved a better answer, but we've just run out of time, so forgive me for that. That's all for this week. We're going to give that subject more time next.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm fucking certain you will. Well, thank you for joining me with your sleepiness. I will talk another time, yeah?
Definitely. Oh, Laura Kay on Sunday, right?
Yes, I can't wait.
No problems. I'll see you later, though, with Son's Boris Johnson interview.
Indeed so, indeed. See you later.
Have a good subscribe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was nice, wasn't it? That was lovely. Right, Christy should be joining us at the top of the hour, I think. And I'm just going to power through, and I'm going to do a long-ass stream. Which means you should give me money, because it's quantity, not quality. Remember that, yeah? That's the metric we're using. That's the goal. Produce as much shite as I can. Anyway. I am also going to go for a piss, though. So, in the meantime, I'm going to stick on 20 minutes of adorable kittens for you to watch. Okay? And I will... I'll see you in a second, yeah?
This just happened. This just happened. I'm just getting so stuck. Now you have a big problem, baby.
No. Wait.
How are we, chat? Are we well? Christy's not in there, is she yet? No, okay. I might as well leave the cats on in the background, you know. It was good of No Justice to join, even though she'd just woken up.
Kevin, you said that you and Kristen will watch what we recommend. Shall we watch the video of Redeemed Zoomer being a fascioid, subscribing to cultural Marxism and calling the left a religion?
Yeah, I guess we could do that. Is it this one? Oh, that's 33 minutes long. Look, that's quite a long video for us. Just, oh my god, just say no. Do you have something slightly shorter? I mean, thank you for the bits, Elliot. By the way, you can do bits and subs and all that shit if you wanted to. It's a thing you can do. I'm really bad at pitching that, but you get the idea. Yeah. By the way, I still do. This isn't long. Well, no, just say no isn't long. That is true. You wanted a long stream, mate. To be fair, I've already been going nearly 3 hours. I have a short video on Laura Kay. Yeah, okay. I'm good with that. If you want to do that. Did you see that Melania Trump came out in favour of abortion? Is that not the most mental fucking thing? Right. Oh, I can't. Elliot, thank you, but I think that's more of a me watching with you rather than with Christy type channel, I think. When Christy comes on, I try and make it a bit lighter, maybe. What's this?
Is often criticised from both sides.
Okay, we could watch this, I guess, yeah. Dr. New Vegas. Yeah, it's a shame Trump's mother didn't earlier. True. Yeah, Melania Trump. Melania Trump. Came out in favour of abortion in a weird little fucking clip thing, and you're like, but your husband literally like was boasting about like how he'd stopped that. Like that's his entire bit was that he got abortion banned or sent to the state. And you're like, how can you support this shit? Like, what the fuck? It doesn't make sense. I mean, I suppose I'm sort of glad that she has. Like, maybe some Republicans will realise that the tide has turned against them. Hopefully, but I mean, I don't know. Either way, it's pretty mental. While you stream, picked up a figurine of a video game character, went to work to leave my tax receipts, blah 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 blah. Yeah, they are basically divorced at this point, yes. Practically speaking, she wants the inheritance, so like she can't literally get divorced. But yeah, they are basically divorced, yes. That is true. What was this? Grand's house was 200 times 5. What? I don't know what the fuck that means, but thank you.
Knockout goes.
Troy Deeney scoring the I've seen this before. Yeah, it is an amazing goal. Also, Troy Deeney, good Blues fan. Although wasn't a great Blues player, unfortunately, but there you go. How old is Barron? I'm thinking 70. I think he's an adult now, isn't he, Barron Trump? If you're arguing that he should be aborted, it's definitely a little too late for that, I think. Yeah, he's 18, yeah. He's born on March the 20th, 2006. How the fuck is a 16-year-old 18 already? That's not... stop. Can time stop, please? Also, he's a tall boy. 2'6". What's that in centimetres? Yeah. In feet. Nearly 6'8". And he's 18. Look, he hasn't necessarily stopped growing at this point. Like, he probably has, but some people do grow up until they're about 20. 6'8", man, that is fucking mental. What's this? If everyone had CEO pay structures.
All done. Oh, looks great. Thank you, mate. No worries. And we said $120, yeah? Well, yeah, as a base rate, but I cleaned up the dog hair, which actually triggers a short-term variable reward. The mold next to the bathtub hasn't come back since I last cleaned it, which is a long-term incentive. The house has gone up in value since I've been coming here, so you've got to factor that in. And you think I've been doing a good job, right? Yeah. Right? Yes. Okay, so actually 120 becomes 460 this week. And you owe me a couple of extra shares in the house. And you've got to have these incentives in place, otherwise you're going to lose your top guys. All right, all done. Oh, looks great. Thank you, mate. No worries. And we said $120, yeah? Well, yeah, as a base rate, but I cleaned up the dog hair, which actually...
I'm not fucking limping. Good point, though, by the video. Centimetres are famously measured in feet and inches. What are you talking... No, I know I translated it. I went literally Googled 206 centimetres in feet and inches. Because that's what I fucking... Anyway. Who is this person?
Hey, how much is a tunnel? Hey, how much is a tunnel? A tunnel? Yeah, you know, if I wanted a tunnel to get to work a bit quicker. Oh, 500 million should probably get the job done. Hang on, I'll check. Suppose if we all chip in. Actually, 5.5 billion. What? Whoa, hang on. 10 billion. Are we doing this? They haven't started, have they? Yeah. Well, geez. Yeah, they're asking if you want to throw in a hospital. We actually do need one of those. 500 million. You're going to want to leave room to double that. What is the point of the first number? Ah, well, the jumping off point, you know? Things change. This conversation's starting to make me feel a bit sick, actually. Oh, you want the hospital then? Go for it. Yeah, money's fine. Hey, how much is a tunnel?
How much is a tunnel? It's a good question. Oh, new Jago Hazard. Right, I'm going to play this for you. You won't enjoy this, but I do enjoy this. This is... What? Right, okay. This guy is like one of the people I watch that, like, you will never... Like, my audience wouldn't get this, I don't think, necessarily. But this guy is a guy called Jago Hazard, right? He does stories about, like, the history of London and the underground and shit. And there's something about the guy, I don't know what, that I find ridiculously endearing and entertaining. And I watch basically all of his fucking videos. So I'm just going to watch that video with you now because I've got to waste 10 minutes. Fuck it.
My favourite things about the London Underground is its architecture. It is
actually
gorgeous.
Yeah.
But quite apart from that, you can also tell a lot about the history of a station from its architecture. Today we're going to travel along the Jubilee line and see what we can learn. Now, the Jubilee line can be divided into 5 sections, stylistically speaking. We'll start in the west at Stanmore. The Stanmore branch wasn't actually built for the Jubilee line, it was built for the Metropolitan Railway, and opened in 1932. For the Metropolitan Railway, that was actually pretty late. It would be taken over by London Transport the following year.
I think I already showed Christy the English Slim Shader.
In the early days of the Metropolitan, it had seen
that was on the last
itself
show, I
as a
think, wasn't it?
contender, a mainline
Or the
railway
show
to
before,
compete
whatever.
with the big boys. But by the 1930s, it had settled into a more sedate identity. It was a commuter railway, and that's okay.
See, I feel
one of its major selling points.
I feel like he's sort of a friend, but he's also sort of like, I don't know, like he's a friendly kind of guy guiding you through this topic, type thing, you know. It's I like it.
Was a concept they called Metroland. That is to say, suburbs built around the Metropolitan Railway station, which, their publicity material promised, would give residents the relaxed pace of country living with the convenience of the city. Many of the new housing estates of Metroland were developed by the Metropolitan Railway themselves, albeit through a technically separate company. Once you know all this, the stations on the Stanmore branch make a lot of sense. The architect in charge was C.W. Clark, and when Clark got out to the suburbs,
the
he
Bob
really
Ross
went
of
in
transport,
for the Metroland style.
Absolutely.
These stations are designed to basically look like country houses, the sort of place a wealthy man might have in the sticks for when he fancies going hunting, or hiking, or golfing. The Metropolitan were weirdly obsessed with golf. Actually, when the Stanmore branch opened, it wasn't very heavily used. When London Transport came to review the figures, they wondered if the architecture might actually be the problem, that the stations were so similar to houses that people just didn't notice them. London Transport had inherited an enormous system with an enormous number of problems. The Stanmore branch wasn't very heavily used, but other parts of the Metropolitan were too busy. Management's solution was this. The Bakerloo line, which had plenty of extra capacity, would take the Stanmore branch over entirely. Then it would take over stopping services between Wembley Park and Finchley Road, leaving the Metropolitan line trains free to skip them. At Finchley Road it would dive into a tunnel and head for Baker Street. At Baker Street it would join its original line and head for Elephant and Castle. The section from Wembley Park to Finchley Road is kind of a mishmash of architectural styles. Wembley Park itself was rebuilt in the early 2000s. Basically its entire function is to get people in and out as quickly as possible en route to the stadium.
Yeah, it's literally just Wembley Stadium's fucking train station. Although I suppose some people do live nearby, but you know. Oh. Hello.
Hey, like you, I came early.
Ew. At the moment, Christy, we're watching a video
Oh, okay.
about architecture on the London Underground.
Oh, love it.
So, like...
Also, why? Is this what you do when I'm not around?
No, not usually, but I had 10 minutes to kill and I was just looking around my suggestions. Not
Okay.
suggestions about my like what the algorithm had spat out at me. And I like watching this guy's videos. So I was just like, I'm just going to indulge myself. Fuck it.
All right, so tell me about this guy. Tell me about this
This guy called Jago Hazard.
Mhm.
I assume that's not his real name because it's not
Probably.
a name.
Yeah.
But anyway, and he's like, someone described him earlier as like the Bob Ross of transport. Like he's just a sort
What a
of
wonderful phrase.
Exactly, he's a friendly kind of voice who's like your mate, but also explaining shit in a way that I find very accessible and entertaining, and I don't know why,
Okay.
but it's beautiful.
All right, so let's go on an architectural tour of the underground.
I don't know. It's not a station I can get excited about. Neasden dates...
But bizarrely, there are stations he can get excited about.
Well, if you're into architecture,
Yeah.
I mean,
If
there
you-
are some really nice stations and some very
There are
classy
some
stations, like Baker
glorious ones,
Street.
yeah.
Baker Street's very old school. for
Baker
instance.
Street is very old. Well, it's
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
first ones right in the centre of
Mhm.
London.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
Looks like they haven't updated it since the Victorian age.
Well, King's Cross is amazing because they've just got like
Mhm.
these massive old like Victorian rafters that
Yep.
the trains actually come into where you get on. And it's like it's too big. It's as big as it needs to be, of course, because
Yeah.
back in the day they had steam and stuff, so like you had to have a lot of air above the thing, you know. But yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But look at that. That's just a lovely little brick station.
Yeah, it looks like it's out in the middle of nowhere. It looks like the end of a line kind of station.
Yeah, and it's not at all.
Oh, really? Is
No.
it downtown? Okay.
Yeah. It's just well, most of these places probably were like end of the line when they were built, but
Oh, of
London
course,
has
the
just
cities.
grown massively to the point
Yeah.
where like all of these places like Willesden Green and blah de blah Green were like green spaces on the edge of what was London, and now it's central London. Now it's just like these are not little villages on the edge of the town anymore. They're right in the fucking middle of what London is.
Okay.
From 1880. This is an older Metropolitan Railway building, albeit one that has been modified a lot over the years. It's a good illustration of the sort of thing the Metropolitan
Can you
was
pause it?
doing back then.
That just looks like the Colchester.
Yeah, that's
station.
just an ugly ass
That's
station.
an old, like a 1960s kind of train station. I guess. It could
Yeah,
also
what
come
happened in like the 60s? The people just went, should we make shit? Should
Yeah,
we
let's
just make
just
things look a bit drab and shit?
How about we do everything in concrete and really boxy, and
Well,
not
like-
give a shit?
Well, I mean, the famous library against which I fingered somebody is
Mhm.
one of the ugliest buildings. Did I ever show you the actual building?
No, before they knocked it down.
Yeah,
the
look,
new one's beautiful.
The new one is fucking
It's
gorgeous.
gorgeous. It really
Absolutely
is,
lovely.
yeah.
So
This is a very England-centric conversation we're having.
Oh,
but-
yeah, very
So
much
for those of you who've never been to London and never been to Birmingham, just go along for the ride. Just enjoy it.
Can I get a proper view? Ah, here we go. Right. So, hang on a second. I need to unshare that.
If you want to see what a dog shit architecture looks like, just bring up a picture of the University of Essex.
So ignore
Oh,
the
God.
ignore the lovely concrete thing you
Yeah.
see in front of you. That spire on the basically the behind it, right?
Mhm.
So just off to the left there, that's the alleyway in which the
That's where the
fingering
fingering happened.
Yeah, and it's this building. Look at it,
Mhm.
concrete fucking shit. Although
Yeah,
what I
that's-
did always enjoy was sitting on these curved steps, watching the world go by. That was
Oh, that's
lovely
nice,
because
yeah.
the off to the right there is the museum place, and just basically behind where this camera's pointed is
Mhm.
that the copy of the Temple of Castor and Pollux that I talked about in my history video of Birmingham. Glorious building. So if you sit with your back facing the central library, the view was glorious
Yeah, just don't look at the
because you
library.
couldn't see the thing behind you.
So you see that building that's an alternate concrete floor-to-ceiling glass, which means that there's like no insulation and it's fucking freezing in the winter.
Yeah.
And then more concrete and more glass. That is the structure of the main part of the University of Essex. What that picture is missing, though, is all the rain stain that just sort of like dribbles down and stains the concrete and makes it look completely disgusting.
Sorry, I just realised I needed to zoom out so people could see. There you go. So now you
Oh.
get the full picture of the thing there. There you go. So
Yeah.
that's and it was one of the ugliest buildings ever. It was a very good library, I have to say.
Inside, I'm
Yeah.
sure the books were good. The
books-
shelves were good.
Well, no, just a library is more than just some books on a shelf. The services are available,
mostly it.
the staff working it, the services on offer, everything. It was genuinely a very, very good, albeit slightly tatty around the edges because it had been
Yeah.
built in the 60s, you know,
Mhm.
just after the war, to replace the very beautiful old Victorian building that got fucking bombed. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was a very good library, but it was the most ugly building in the history of the world. And it's now been replaced with big fancy shops, and if you walk past the big fancy shops to basically a quarter of a mile in the very direction we're now facing in this image, you get the new library, and it's fucking beautiful.
Yep.
Although, sans fingering.
Yeah, that's just a memory now.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm so old, I fingered people against buildings that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Although I said that to my younger brother today because he was around fixing my computer. I had a thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't stream yesterday. It was a whole drama.
Mm.
Anyway, and I was saying, like, you're so fucking old, your high school doesn't even exist anymore. Because it's true, they knocked it down, the place he went to high school. Whereas mine's still there.
They knocked down my high school too.
But didn't you go to school with, like, a beaver in a tree or something?
Yeah, back in the 1880s.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
In a gunny sack?
Yeah,
And,
I walked uphill both ways to get to school in bare feet.
Exactly, yeah.
You had to bring your own coal
True. Okay, this is turning into like the Wisconsin version of the Four Yorkshiremen now.
Yeah, basically.
And we don't need this.
I didn't drink it out of the slipper of a passing Turk.
Our father would murder us in cold blood.
And it didn't see itself as a metro line. Dollis Hill represents a later style.
That looks like England.
It was rebuilt in 1938.
Look at that Art Deco beauty.
Mm-hmm.
That is fucking
That is nice.
delicious. Looks like a fucking... It looks like the 1930s, how they would describe like a cafe on Mars. Look, it's beautiful.
Film a
Now,
Christmas
the
movie
architect
in
in
True.
charge at London Transport...
Well, that's how they could get away with filming all those Poirot bits, because there's still loads of Art Deco and Art Nouveau shit all over the place.
Well, it's the same block all the time, because there's that one block that looks like right out of the 1930s.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's the one he lives in, to be fair. It's understandable.
But they chose it for
well,
a
exactly,
reason.
yeah. They chose it because it looks like it's from then, yeah. Mine is also still there. Get bent, you old prick.
Back then was Charles Holden, who is perhaps the most famous London Underground architect. His style was very much based around...
Okay, but saying the most famous is like saying the tallest dwarf. Like,
yeah, it's not like...
You're not actually famous, mate.
Yeah, like only for specialists.
Yeah, exactly. There are 12 people who mostly watch Jago Hazard, I think, and really love it.
Simple shapes with a bit of Art Deco streamlining. Dollis Hill is actually not a Holden station. It was designed by Stanley Heaps, whose legacy seems to be that he was very good at imitating more famous tube architects.
Ooh,
Willesden
ouch,
Green Street.
Catching strays from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
Oh.
Level building is very interesting because it's another C.W. Clarke design. But whereas the stations on the Stanmore branch were designed to blend in,
That looks like a big
Willesden
bank.
Green is one
Big
of
old
its
bank.
urban stations designed to stand
That's
out.
gorgeous.
From Finchley Road to Baker Street, the line dives into a tunnel and we get more 30s styling. This section
Yeah,
was
look at
entirely
that.
new when it was...
Fucking
Yeah, that tiling.
gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the murals they have in that glass tile stuff is just... Oh, it's spectacular.
built, opening in 1939. The style at platform level at Swiss Cottage and St John's Wood is very typical of this era. I think of this style of tiling as New Works programme style, because most of the stations in this style were built as a result of the 1935 New Works programme.
Oh,
So you've got it at Highgate on the...
it's kind of like it's during the Depression, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a works program. I think we had the Conservation Corps program, for instance, that planted a lot of trees or did some shit.
Yeah.
Just to get people to work.
Yeah, the
just to
building of the
provide-
Hoover Dam.
Yeah, precisely. That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it was even a Conservative government that essentially nationalised the London Underground because it wasn't making any fucking money. And so they decided to build new shit and revamp the whole thing, which is why a lot of it looks Art Deco as fuck, because that was cutting edge style of the time.
Yeah.
Now, imagine looking at this and people going, "This fancy new shit."
Yeah, what I wasted my taxpayer money for.
God damn it! These
100
youngsters
years later.
today and their jazz.
Devil's
Northern line,
music.
you've got it at Bethnal Green on the Central line, and you've got it here. I'm particularly fond of these relief tiles that have various symbols related to the stations on them. From Baker Street to Charing Cross, you have the first section of line built specifically for the Jubilee line. More or less from its inception, London Transport was fighting a war against overcrowding, and the Jubilee line was planned to take some of
I
the
think
weight
that's pretty
off.
much the same for everything in London ever. It's always just we've got too many people and not enough shit for the people to, In the case of the sewers, literally far too much shit.
Yeah.
To actually deal
In
with.
the case of the sewers, yes.
Of
Exactly.
the existing lines. This would take over the Bakerloo line from Stanmore to Baker Street, then would strike off on its own to Charing Cross. From there, the aim was to extend through the city and out to the Docklands. Things didn't quite work out that way, but that's another story. The section from Baker Street to Charing Cross opened in 1979. Because the line was intended to relieve other lines, and because it was built on the cheap, it was added to existing stations. But there's some very 70s style decoration at some of the stations along here.
Look at that ugly
They
ass
seem to have
green.
been
Oh.
very fond of yellow, orange and grey.
I saw
You can
an
see it
article
at Baker.
that apparently like millennials are choosing to go back to that 1970s
Oh, please
avocado
No.
kitchens, like not kitchens, bathroom tubs, sinks, and toilets.
No.
Pea soup colored. I was
Yeah.
like, just please learn from the mistakes of your
I
grandparents.
honestly, when my dad, him and my mum got divorced. This would have been like the mid to late 90s, and he eventually got his own place. And like some old ass woman had died there. She was like 90 or some shit, right? And she'd clearly been living there since like the 50s or something.
Yeah.
Because this place was literally, it looked like a 1960s home, like literally like a fucking time capsule.
Yeah.
Right down to the banisters that were painted in this horrible, like, I don't even know how to describe, like sick green.
Oh.
It looked like the colour of like someone's fucking vomit or like a baby's poo.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so disgusting.
I know for them it probably looks like cool and retro, but honestly, for me, it looks so outdated and
Yeah.
so old. It's like if millennials decided to bring back beehives.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, you just look like my mom's senior high school picture. Like, you don't look young.
Yeah.
You
I've
look
seen some
dated.
people trying to bring the mullet back. Don't be doing this
Well,
now.
I don't know. The mullet never really goes away because it's like the cheapest ass haircut that you can give yourself.
Yeah, I
so.
suppose it's functional.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Please, like millennials and Generation Z, don't do the don't do the green avocado
No.
bathroom
What you
furniture.
need, let's be honest, what you mostly need are pastels.
Yeah,
Just
basically.
plain ass pastels works.
Like an ecru or a soft, like probably like a sky blue, not too baby blue, just a hint, you
Yeah.
know, or it's like a pale kind of thing.
That's
Maybe
literally
like
my
a-
entire house is.
Yeah.
I've got some wallpaper downstairs, but it's mostly like cream coloured and shit. I've
Mhm.
got literally this room I'm in now is like off-white, egg white type thing.
Yeah.
I've got like baby blue, sky blue in the stairs out there. Like that's it.
Or
'Cause-
you go complete opposite and you go black. Just jet black, got it against a white floor. Clean, crisp, contrast, but ugh, yeah.
I'm just thinking like if you needed to sell it on,
Yeah.
you don't want ugly shit. You want
Yeah.
some just neutral shit. It's fine.
Yep.
You know? No, it's not horrendous idiosyncrasy. You fucking take that back. This is the home I've created for me and Rory Cats. How dare you?
Baker Street, Bond Street, Green Park and Charing Cross. Well, you can't usually see it at Charing Cross because that bit closed in 1999. More on that in a couple of ticks. There's also some theming. Baker Street has images from the Sherlock Holmes stories.
There.
Bond Street has images of...
Also, from the... You know he never says, elementary, my dear Watson.
Yeah.
At any point. And you know why people think it is? Because of those fucking
Movies?
illustrations.
Oh.
One of the most famous illustrations was captioned underneath Elementary My Dear Watson because the bloke who drew it had never read the books. He just went, that's a thing that apparently he says or something. So he probably says something like that.
Yeah.
And just
So-
put that underneath and it was printed in all the fucking papers.
I introduced a friend to the Elementary series with Johnny Lee.
Johnny Lee Miller and Lucy
Yes,
Liu. Brilliant
correct.
series, yeah.
It is. And we got to
And
the
Vinnie
episode-
Jones, ex-professional footballer Vinnie Jones.
does make an appearance.
Yeah.
Yes. And in one of the episodes, he says, "Whenever you have eliminated the improbable, whatever remains, no matter how impossible, must be the truth." And then later on, she quotes it back to him, and he goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, that sounds like someone who's just talking a bunch of rubbish
Yeah.
or something."
Yeah.
It's just kind of, and I had to explain to him that that's actually like the most famous quote from the character,
Yeah, exactly,
Sherlock Holmes. So they're playing with the original material.
Well,
a
they
little bit,
do,
having
yeah.
fun
It
with it.
describes M, which is like the Moriarty
Mhm.
character, as the Napoleon of crime, which made sense in like 1880 when it was written, because
Yeah.
like it was still sort of almost living memory in the
Mhm.
Napoleonic era. Whereas Nat, and obviously no one knows that. So Lucy Liu goes, Napoleon of crime, what's that about? He goes, I don't know, I had a brain fart. Or something like, or I don't know, I went mad or something like that.
You can. I mean, I firmly believe, and I don't know this for a fact, but I firmly believe that at least half the writers on that team were British, because the
I think
writing
some
is
of them must have
too
been.
authentic. Yeah,
Yeah.
The writing was just too authentic to be Americans aping British it's patter.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah,
phraseology, things
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I love it at one point in one of the I do actually really like that series, or that series of series indeed. At one point Lucy Lou's talking to like one of the different officers, an American, and he goes, "Oh, you work with the British guy, right?" He goes, at one point I got off on the wrong foot with him. I interrupted him and he called me a twat and ran off. Okay.
So that person that I was introduced, we also play D&D, which is what we had to reschedule our D&D. That's what I was catching up with before I came on here. And he decided he had a sister, so I gave him a character that's his sister, and I needed to come up with a last name for her because he was like Oprah or Madonna. He didn't have a last name, and so I gave his sister, the character's last name is Greenstick.
Yeah.
From the episode about the safe.
Yeah.
Bâton vert. Or whatever. Green stick. Do you want your money back, green stick, or not?
Yeah.
So that's a little elementary homage in our game.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go.
Of parcels reflecting Bond Street status as a shopping district. Green Park has Leaves, for obvious reasons, and Charing Cross has Nelson's Column, being as it is right next to Trafalgar Square.
Because it's a statue of Nelson Mandela's penis. That's why it's called Nelson's Column. Fact.
Kevin, fact. We
The
should
final
distinguish that
section,
from actual
at least for
fact.
now, is Westminster to Stratford. Commonly known
Look, if we're going to live in a post-truth world, make it about Dick.
Everything.
Yeah.
Or
That's
about
the Jubilee.
Elon Musk's firm titties.
He does have ripe naturals. Absolutely.
Those little A cups, his little training bra.
Yeah.
Boobies.
Look, there's nothing wrong with a little bee sting, okay? As long as you throw that ass around it, that's all good.
Yeah. The itty bitty titty committee.
Absolutely.
Line extension. This was a kind of compromise between two plans. One was London Transport's original route, and
I
the other
recognise
was a
that.
private railway planned.
Pardon?
I think it's King's Cross, isn't it?
It says Waterloo East, but that might be directions to the other. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It looks like, because there's a stairs that you come in and then you
They're
go
all
up.
sort of connecty when you get into central London.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Unless you're on like, what is it, Holbein? Whatever has all the ridiculous stairs.
Yeah. Holborn?
Holbein? Yeah.
Next to
not
well,
Holbein, not like the painter.
No, that's Holbein. No, Holborn and St Pancras is literally the constituency represented by the current Prime Minister.
Oh, okay.
Central London.
By the Canary Wharf developers, Olympia and York. Because the route wasn't as planned by London Transport, it meant that part of the 1979 section had to be abandoned. Everything west of Green Park. On the plus side, it meant that Westminster could be added to the route.
And there are loads and loads of old stations that are just like abandoned under the ground.
Oh, really?
Just empty spaces and shit.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They should turn them into clubs.
I think they have had raves in them before.
That would be amazing. To
Like,
go
of
to
course,
an
young people
abandoned-
were going to find a way to either get drunk, drugged,
or get high.
Or fuck.
Yeah.
Let's be
Yeah,
honest. A lot of
it
fucking
is.
going on in those places,
Yeah.
I imagine.
Adventurous fucking.
It had been skipped the first time around. The architectural style on this section is all brutalism. It's steel and concrete, all
Yeah,
industrial.
you say architecture. That's not architecture. That's what's underneath architecture. That's just some concrete. Architecture is the shit you put around it to make it look nice. This is naked. This is a naked statue. Not statue. Station.
Who are you thinking of?
Nelson Mandela's cock again.
Yep.
You can quote me on that. Kevin Logan, 2024.
Real looking. Huge and open plan, and about as far from the country cottages of the Stanmore branch as you can get. Spiritually, and, now I come to think of it, physically as
that
well.
literally could just be any station. That's rubbish. That's a bit rubbish.
Yeah. That could be
Well-
like Stratford or something.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, it could just be any.
Yeah, anything.
And that is really where we wrap things up. In my opinion, the change in styles along the Jubilee line represents the change in status of the tube. The Metropolitan Railway sought to be gently unobtrusive. The London Underground brought a bolder style. The 70s saw a tube that couldn't afford to be too bold. The that many politicians saw as a form of transport that would be superseded by cars in the not-too-distant. And in the 90s...
But thankfully that didn't have any negative repercussions.
Yeah.
System that was here to stay, an essential part of London, and don't you forget it.
Yeah,
well, I
some
do
of
hope
those
you enjoyed this stylish
stations
tale
are
from
cavernous.
the Tube. If so,
yeah,
please
massive,
do leave a like and consider subscribing for more.
Oh, Bank. Fucking Bank. You have to like walk half a mile to get around Bank Station. Like, oh, I can cross here. And they're like, you're walking and you're walking and you're walking and you're walking. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, I could have walked there above ground, been there faster.
We can watch... Oh, hang on. No, I want to get inside. Look, an old station.
What? Kevin,
No.
not on there.
No. Inside an old, abandoned station. See, YouTube has got to have one of these fucking dickheads who adventures in, lost places.
Alright. Trespassers, you mean?
Urban ramblers is how I like to think of them. Aldwych Tube Station abandoned. Can have a look at that. Hang on.
Old eating just one tunnel.
Does it? Hang on. No. Let me. If you've not got footage from inside the thing, I'm not fucking interested.
As Case Logan 18751 of the closed tube stations near Westminster is a plot device in Season 3, Episode 1 of Sherlock.
One of the closed tube stations near Westminster is a plot device in Season 3, Episode 1 of Sherlock. Well, that's fine, but the Sherlock series is rubbish, so I don't care. Yeah, I said
That's
it.
true.
I said
Yeah.
it.
No, I mean, I think basically, H. Bomber Guy spoke for a generation of people and actually put a name to the problem that we all suspected but really couldn't express. That Sherlock was shit, always was shit, and it only thought that it was good.
Fuck it. I don't know if it's got any footage from inside this abandoned stations, but it's another Jago Hazard video about trains.
Of course it does. Of course it is.
Fuck it. This was totally not what I had. Well, I'll be honest, I didn't really have anything planned, but this is totally not what I had in mind for this. But fuck it.
Oh, okay. Abandoned stations in King's Cross.
King's Cross. York Road and Maiden Lane. Abandoned
wow.
stations in King's Cross.
They should make money for the underground by giving tours of those abandoned stations, just because I think people would be interested.
Oh,
and,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and you literally just take in money. You just have to pay the insurance and the staff, and you could make extra money.
You would think so.
And you could rent it out for weddings and bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and
what for
I don't know,
bats?
celebrations of life.
No, you missed my joke.
Yeah, I know. I just ignored it. That's a difference.
No. Apparently they do tours. Okay. We should go on the tours.
Of abandoned, yeah, definitely. Oh.
Everyone loves an abandoned station.
Yeah.
This week, I give you two because I am just all heart. The first one we're going to look at is quite well...
This one's from 3 years ago, and you can tell he's upgraded his audio equipment.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's the dead cat on your mic, dude? I can hear the wind.
Yeah, not great.
known. It's York Road, and it's pretty easy to find. Simply walk along York Way alongside King's Cross Station and keep going. I'm not saying it's more exciting than visiting the Harry Potter shop, but it's still
It funds less transphobia.
Exactly. So it's got that going for it.
But literally at King's Cross, I remember this very distinctly, because it was at the height of the Potter series fame. You know, the films were massive.
Yeah, leftist audio. Exactly.
And he, they've got like set up, but I forget what the exact number is, but it's like platform 9 1/4 or whatever.
3/4, yeah.
It's something like that anyway. Yeah. So between like 9 and 10, they set up like a fake version of it as like a touristy bit, and you can have your picture taken at the fake station or fake thing anyway. And of course it's brick.
Yeah.
So they have regularly, and you said it was about once a month, they'd have to call out an ambulance because some dumb kid had tried to run head first to get to the Harry Potter land, wherever the fuck that's called.
Yeah.
Anyway, and and like cracked their fucking head open on a brick wall. Like, at that point, put up a little rail or something. Don't let them run at the wall.
Yeah, put a cushion on there. Put like a bed mattress or something.
Yeah.
Tape it on there. Just don't let kids hurt themselves.
Or don't help them. Darwinian, okay? If you're too stupid to not run headfirst into a wall, you just die. You just bleed out on the floor.
Kids are really dumb though. So
They
you
are
have to
very
protect them
stupid.
protect them from themselves.
Although I did have a genuinely amazing afternoon the other day about my young niece, who's nearly 3. Their parents were off doing something. I think they had to take the new baby to the hospital or something. It's fine, don't worry, just like checkups or whatever. So Uncle Kev gets roped in for a couple of hours, and we spent I went and got chalk, like these big chunky bits of chalk, and we were going to like do some art or whatever. I don't know, just to occupy her for fuck's sake. I don't want to just plonk her in front of the TV. That's not good. And so we spent the afternoon outside drawing bunny rabbits on the like pavement outside my house.
Aww.
It was genuinely lovely, and honestly, like, it was the most innocent, sweet interaction you could possibly have. It was my happy place. And then
Aww.
when she got hungry and tired and angry, I took her home to her parents. It was fucking perfect. That's what you want. You want the nice fluffy bits like that, which I'll remember forever, and she won't, but I'll remind her of it, right? And then when she gets annoyed, or like starts to go, oh, I'm hungry or I'm tired, and starts acting up, I just go, okay, let's get in the car then, and I drive her home. And then they can fucking deal with it. It's fucking beautiful. Perfect. All the best bits of parenthood without any of the shit.
Pretty good.
And indeed without much of the cost, which is good.
Oh my gosh, so much less of the cost. Just really birthdays and occasional treats and and Christmas probably.
York Road is not in itself a super remarkable station. It's on the Piccadilly line between King's Cross, St Pancras and Caledonian Road.
Yeah, these are all real places, Americans. I know they sound made up like he's going glibbity gloop and bibbledy bob, but they are real.
It was opened in 1906 by the Great...
Look at that. Absolutely lovely work. Sorry.
Great Northern, Piccadilly and Brompton Railway. It was designed by the architect Leslie Green, who was responsible for the house style of Underground Electric Railways of London, who owned the Great Northern, Piccadilly and Brompton Railway. It never did so well in terms of traffic and wound up closing in 1932, the year before the line officially became part of the London Underground. Even though we're only a mile or so from King's Cross, this area is very different. It's a much less built-up area with a lot of light industry and residential development. Not quite as bustling as Finsbury Park or King's Cross, and maybe that's why the station remained as it was for so long. In the early 2000s, it was cleaned up and underwent a bit of a restoration. It's still in use by TfL, but for operational support and as an emergency exit from the Piccadilly line. I wonder if it might have had more traffic if it had been a bit further down the road by today's other station. Maiden Lane is less visible, but once you know it's there, it's obvious. Its name reflects changes in the street name.
Oh, look at that. So presumably they had some sort of staircase or something.
Oh, yes, yes.
Fucking doorway in the air. Love it.
Name over the years. The road was originally named Maiden Lane, then it was renamed York Road in the 19th century,
Oh, what a cool
and then
oval, that entrance with that sort of like horseshoe.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is
lovely.
nice, yeah.
That's really nice.
And then it's mirrored over the windows. And
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then you put it next to that drab as fuck like
Mhm,
extension
yeah.
on the right.
With nothing on it. That's interesting.
Yeah, just the most boring piece of shit. Why did we start just making things like this? I mean, I guess it's a sort of cheaper, but like, can't we just pay a bit more and have something nice? Why has it all got to be this fucking blocks of nothing? Like, build something a bit mental. Go for it.
Then it was renamed York Road in the 19th century, and
I don't even care if it's sort of ugly. Like, some people don't like the Selfridges building in Birmingham, the big silver disc one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you like it or hate it. At least there's something to it.
Yeah, it's
Your
interesting.
average tower block, who gives a fuck?
Mm.
Like, it's just a pointless thing. You know? Whereas, at least, even if you think it's an eyesore, it inspires some fucking feeling inside of you. Which is good, isn't it? I don't want a Lego building fucking existence.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, like, when I walk through the city, I can tell what buildings survived the war and which ones didn't. Because the ones that survived the war, when I look at them, there's so many things that catch my eye.
Yeah.
There's so many features, or, there's a facade, there's bas relief, there's other things that's just, there's something to look at. Whereas you just walk past a plain old flat surface that's painted one color with some graffiti on the ground level.
Yeah.
And it's just another plain
Exactly.
building.
You go to the old buildings because there's some fucking life to them. You just think, like, in 500 years, they're not going to be looking at some boring ass fucking
tower block.
Yeah, like, no one gives a fuck about that.
Then, in 1938, it was renamed York Way. The station is on what's now the North London line of the London Overground, between Camden Road and...
This obviously was made before the famous tube map, which simplified it all.
Oh, yeah.
But technically it doesn't make any geographic sense in some places at all.
But honestly, all you really need to know is what your next station is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care. Like, technically, this station might be slightly more north than that station, but it's depicted otherwise. I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to get to that station, so I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. I don't look at the underground map to figure out how far I am away from the next station.
No.
I just need to know what it is.
Exactly. Also, to any fucking Londoners watching who get annoyed because you have to wait 8 minutes for a train, count yourselves very fucking lucky. You're lucky if your train turns up ever, and B, if it does within an hour of the time it says it was going to. Oh no, I was late for work because I had to wait 12 minutes for a train. You little cunt.
Caledonian Road and Barnsbury. The station was built in 1887 by the North London Railway, who already had a goods station nearby to serve the metropolitan cattle market. Residential developments had begun to appear, and the North London Railway, who had stations in the city proper, figured they could cash in. What did for them was demographics. The residents in the area were largely employed by local industries and had no need for a route into the city. Those who did need to travel favoured the cheaper and more modern electric trams, or, later on, the underground. Traffic was therefore low. The station was closed as a wartime measure in 1917, and the North London Railway took the opportunity to rid themselves of a loss-maker, and never reopened it. The North London Railway and the Piccadilly line really couldn't have been much more different. One was a goods railway with a sideline in passenger traffic, the other was a modern commuter subway. But the story of their stations is almost identical, built for traffic that, in the end, wasn't there. Perhaps the Piccadilly thought they could succeed where the North London hadn't by stimulating development, as underground lines had elsewhere in London. In the years following the Second World War, this area, known as the Railway Lands, went into a decline. Industries moved out and drug dealers and prostitutes moved in. But that's started to change. The idea of redevelopment has been in the air since the 1990s.
So I'm okay. I mean, this is a bit more formal, but I'm okay with. There's at least some contrast between these buildings. There's at least something there. There's something a bit interesting going on there. I just, like, I don't know, maybe it's the autism in me or whatever, but I need to see...
Variation.
I need to, yeah, exactly, just having the same building. Like, that's why I hate those
Block
picket
after block
fence,
after
like,
block. Yeah.
places in America that's just identikit towns.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I couldn't live like that.
No, here you've got quite a, like, the foreground buildings, the roofline architecture is quite unique, and that contrasts nicely with the sort of step of the dark red brick.
Yeah.
And then you've got the mauve, which it offsets, and then you've got another white, which contrasts at the end. So, yeah.
Like, there's some difference there. I like the,
individuality.
Yes, indeed.
Doesn't look like it was built by Stalin.
Yeah, true.
The completion of High Speed 1 and the revitalisation of St Pancras has made the area around King's Cross a whole lot more attractive for developers. The project is known as King's Cross Central and has seen the refurbishment of a lot of older buildings.
I wonder why it's called Coal Drops Yard. Could be anything. It's very mysterious. That
Oh,
one, I
this
think.
this actually reminds me about when I did the vote validation for the British election study, and I had to go out to Stratford.
Yes.
And there were like these big, almost like oil tank size, like structures. I don't know what they were, but they looked like that. So.
Look, oh, these things. Oh, they're gas.
Ah. Okay.
And they literally, well, these ones aren't. That's just
Yeah.
a building with people in it or whatever.
Oh,
But
okay,
the
well,
ones
that's
you're
good.
referring to
Yeah.
are massive gas containers,
Ah,
and they
okay.
literally the roof on it goes up and down depending on how much
Oh.
gas is necessary in it.
Oh.
Yeah, there's one by the Oval Cricket Ground. Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Gas. What's it? Not gas canister. Gas. I'm just going to put gas and see what comes up. There you go. The Oval gas holders. There you go.
Okay.
So the Oval Cricket Ground in South London. Famously, over one of the stands is this building here.
Yep.
That's the one. And that green thing will literally go up.
Oh.
Right to the very top of it.
Oh.
With like a siding that goes obviously up with it as well, as it fills up and
Yeah.
decreases in size and things.
Ah.
Can I get a picture of it full? There's got to be a full picture of it somewhere.
If I yawn, don't be offended. I only got 3 hours of sleep last night.
That's okay. Is it? Oh, I can't find it with a picture of it full. But anyway, there they are.
Okay, yeah.
It goes up and down. And blah, blah,
Yep.
blah. Anyway. You join us for the very, very well planned let's look at some old architecture in London show.
Buildings and the construction of new ones. Inevitably, the question has been asked, how about reopening one of the stations? York Road would appear to be the obvious
hear
one.
it
The
now.
building's still there.
You can't hear?
Yeah. Don't know why.
Okay, let's... Hang on, no, that's not the right one, that's why.
Oh, okay. That would explain it.
Inevitably, the question has been asked, how about reopening one of the stations? York Road would appear to be the obvious one. The building's still there, and though the platforms are gone, they could be reinstated. But it's not as simple as that. York Road is an old station, and a lot has changed on the Underground since it closed.
Well, that's why we're watching it, Elliot. It's good, but random.
Mm-hmm.
It has no escalators or fire doors. The ticket hall is relatively small. TfL's options would be either to perform a basic refurbishment, which would limit capacity, or do a full rebuild, which would be expensive. There's also the question of how it affects the rest of the line. It would slow journeys between King's Cross and Finsbury Park, and TfL fears that it would cause overcrowding on the Piccadilly line at King's Cross. So this idea has been largely dismissed. Maiden Lane is more attractive. It would be...
Yeah, Brett, that was the joke. Obviously, it's called that because that's where the coal was dropped off. Yes. It wasn't mysterious at all. I was being sarcastic.
a fraction of the cost.
Well, when something's called, I don't know, Factory Lane, I wonder why they called it that, you know.
£40 million is the estimated cost of reopening York Road, while Maiden Lane could be done for as little as £6 million. The North London line has more capacity for extra passengers and doesn't currently serve King's Cross. In 2012, the Mayor's office declared that this too was unlikely to open due to constraints on the site. Which seems odd to me. The site of the building is still in place, there appears to be room for platforms, and thanks to automation, a station needs far less by way of facilities now than it did in 1887. But I'm no engineer. If you know more, let me know in the comments section. In 2019, Morris & Co. architects proposed an interesting scheme to redevelop York Road into a homeless shelter, though God only knows what the developers at King's Cross Central would make of that. Unfortunately...
Yeah, no one wants the building near them.
Yeah.
You might
yeah.
say, not in their backyard.
Yeah. A whole NIMBY.
Because TfL does still have uses for it, they aren't willing to hand it over completely. And nobody seems willing to say, finally, definitively, for absolute certain that the station is never going to reopen. It looks like it's going to be in limbo for a long time to come.
I can't explain Canada Water to you. I don't know why it's called that. That's one of the tube station line. It's called Canada Water. I don't know why.
Should we look it up?
It's not even
online?
called Canadian Water. It's called Canada Water. Okay, yeah, we can look it up.
Yeah, go to the wiki.
Oh, okay. I was just going to type and see if you had a video on it.
Oh,
Canada.
that seemed a little excessive for just a little historical factoid about why the name came about.
Canada Water is an area in the Docklands of southeast London. It is named after a freshwater lake and wildlife refuge. Canada Water Tube Overstand is immediately north. Okay, we want history, right? The lake is named after the former Canada Dock, of which Canada Water is the surviving northern third. Oh, so it's like the West Indies docks and the India docks. So presumably this is where trade from Canada came from.
Okay, it was in and out of Canada, and
Yeah.
it was located there. And so if you wanted to get to the Canada water, you go to the Canada dock.
Yeah.
Huh.
Following the gentrification of parts of Rotherhithe, so it's the south bank of central London, basically. Shoreditch High Street, Liverpool Station, City of London, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Canada Water is the only body of fresh water in London Docklands. The lake is now kept topped up with fresh water from using a wind pump. It's a very small bit of water. I'm not sure that counts. It's barely a lake, in all honesty. Like, hang on, I'll show Christy so she can fucking see it. But
I'm looking on the Twitch, so I'm a little bit lagged, but...
There you go. That's, I mean...
Oh, wow. Okay, that's more like reservoir.
That's, I mean, that is a pond.
Canada Pond, yeah, basically.
Canada Pond.
Lake seems generous.
That is very small.
I think you have to be at least 50 acres or bigger to be considered a lake in Wisconsin by law.
Really?
That doesn't look like 50 acres.
Also, I don't think those are the natural boundaries of that river pond thing. I don't think it literally
Reservoir.
right angles off.
Yeah,
Like-
key.
Yeah. Well, Christy, as you're yawning, and as I've been going for 4 hours anyway,
Oh, do you want to call it a night?
we can call it a night if you want.
Okay, yeah. I mean, again, I'm sorry. It's not that I'm bored. It's just like my body's really tired because, like I said, I only got 3 hours of sleep last night. I got 8 hours of sleep the 2 nights before, and then last night my body's like, fuck you. You don't need that much sleep. I'm like, but I do. And like my body's like, no, fuck you. Stay
Did
awake
you skip
from the
leg
sun."
day? Is that what it was?
No, but I was supposed to go to the gym today, but my arms, because I hit my arms every time I go to the gym, so I hit it like, every single session. And this morning, or today, I noticed it's still the case. This happens after I work out immediately, but like I'll hold up my mobile phone and I'll be like typing shit back to like Christian assholes that I'm debating on the internet, and my muscles will start to go tingly and numb, and I'll have to put my phone down because my arms and muscles are so tired. So I thought, yeah, I'll just not go to the gym today. I'll go tomorrow. It's Saturday. It'll be fine, and I'll get one more day of rest in. But fucking hell, my arms are like my biceps because I'm hitting them all the time. They're coming along. I know we were talking about the gun show. I'm a little too fluffy for a gun show, but in the spring. I'll show y'all in the spring. I'll show you my guns.
Well, I do hope you keep up with it then, because I want to see. I want to see the guns of Christy.
Well, I think my membership started in April, so I'm paid up through April. So I've got. If I don't use it, I'll lose it. Like it's just wasting money. So and it's literally a 10-minute walk from my house. I have no excuse not to go to the gym.
Yeah, look, we want to see the gun show. We want to see your right to bear arms.
Okay, yeah, me and my sports bra.
Look, bare arms. Look,
yeah,
your arms are
naked.
bare.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll work on my triceps. I'll see it. I have no idea how my back's looking. Someone told me that they could see more definition in my shoulders. I was like, seriously? I don't know what my shoulders
I can bring my
look
camera and we can do some back shots.
like.
If you wanted
Obviously,
to.
with my chest, I have no idea.
We can do
what's
some of
happening
those
with
as
my
well if you like. Hey-oh! Let's go. That's 2 coming jokes in, 5 seconds. And what other channel? What other channel would you get that? What's this? A Birmingham train station that is going to reopen. Sadly, the old part is only going to be in front of the new part. Oh yeah, the old Curzon Street station, yeah. Which is a lovely old building from a million years ago.
Alright, so Monday we got internet today. We got tons of shit to catch up on.
Yeah, I'll actually have something planned.
Okay.
Apologies.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's good. Like I said, it kind of works out because we got to spend some time together.
We did.
But we got to go early. You're tired, and I'm tired, so it all works out.
Yeah.
And we're only gonna see each other. It's gonna be like 3 more days, and we're gonna see each other again. So.
True.
Yeah. All right. So I have no idea what's coming up on my channel. I don't know. I was supposed to do the thing yesterday, and I got lazy, so I didn't. How about you?
What were you going to do?
Well, I might do it on Saturday instead, which is finish off the Data Feminism book.
Right.
So, but they're showing my apartment from 11:30 to 12:30 tomorrow, which fucking sucks.
Guttage.
Ugh. I hate keeping my apartment like in a state that's always ready to be shown on a weekend if I need to. It's just pain, you know? Like having strangers walk through your house and like look at your things. Eh.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy about that.
Nah.
But you know, I'm not rental scum, so
That's true.
it's not a problem for me.
But I did find out that I don't know if I mentioned this, but they are selling me as part of the apartment. So it's like it's the 170, and that includes like my agreement and the tenant. So it's like a package deal is one of the offers that my landlord is making.
Okay.
So they're like coming in to like check me, like I don't know, like, you know, they're coming and look at what I've done to the place and decide whether or not, you know. But yeah, it's just like get out of my stuff.
Yeah.
I have to put away my sex toys. I gotta hide all my kink shit, you know. It's like,
You haven't got to.
well, true. I might add more. I don't know what it would do the price of the apartment, but you know, for respectability's sake. So it's just, you know, like last minute. Oh, that put that vibrating cock ring away. All right.
Fair enough. And on that bombshell, yeah, I'm going to send everyone over to Navarra Media. I'm rarely finished so early that I can do. They're usually done by now. But go and say hello to the people over at Navarra Media. They are awesome. I incorporated a burp into a word there. You're very welcome. I'll be back with Christy on Monday, but I'll probably be back tomorrow, I imagine, at some point, to talk about things and stuff.
Yay!
Yay! Stay beautiful, everyone. It's goodbye from me and goodbye from Christy. Say goodbye, Christy!
Bye.